Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bird Brothers podcast. I am one of your hosts, Falcon, joined as always by my good friend Condor. How are you doing today, Condor?
Oh, I'm just doing fantastic. I'm ready to talk about the new Peppa Pig PS4 trailer analysis video.
What?
Where me and Falcon completely talk about and analyze the 1-minute trailer into full depth. We're going to talk about the lore. We're going to talk about the characters. We're going to talk about the settings. This is going to be the hottest game on PS4.
You're not a real gamer now a Peppa Pig podcast.
Unless you platinum Peppa Pig on the PS4. Dark Souls,
I will platinum
get that
Peppa Pig
crap
on
out of
PS4
here.
if you
Bloodborne,
donate
get that
$1,000.
crap out of here. You know, we're talking about Peppa Pig.
Okay.
I just spit all over my laptop.
Well, that's what you get for getting too excited about Peppa Pig. But no, we are not talking about Peppa Pig. That was all bluff. We tricked you. No, we instead are going to be talking about something very different than Peppa Pig. Condor, what is very different than Peppa Pig? And that is something we might talk about today.
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. Well, that's not too different from Peppa Pig. Instead of just having a weird, like, toddler voice, that's a, yeah, well, how's it going? Kind of voice,
how's it going there, everybody? I'm gonna kill you, huh?
Mickey Mouse would never say that. He would never kill anybody.
South Park.
Well, that's because South Park ruins everything.
You mean South Park enhances everything. And that's why we're talking about South Park today, everybody.
No, we're talking about Code Geass. Let's
talking about
all the bluffs we can do. We're talking Code Geass. Hopefully you watched it. If not, this is going to be a very, very short podcast because I can't spoil it.
Yes, because you're going to stop it. We're going to stop it right here because spoilers, everybody. We're talking a lot. Falcon, and bless him, everybody pay respects for Falcon. He literally watched 50 episodes. And what you said, 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days.
He watched 50 episodes of anime in 2 days. If you don't respect this man, you got to get out of this podcast.
I've had no life for 2 days.
We don't even want your views if you can't respect, all right? No views, no respect.
Well, we will still take your views. Thank you very much. Yeah, some respect would be nice, you know. But essentially, Code Geass is a fun show. We want to talk about it. But the second season is the best season of Code Geass. And it's hard to talk about Code Geass without talking about everything Code Geass. So while I was on vacation, Condor's like, I'm going to watch Code Geass. So I had to rewatch it
2 days.
Off of vacation.
Hey, we didn't have to watch Code Geass for the podcast. You're just like, oh, you watch Code Geass? Cool, we'll talk about it for the podcast. I'm like, okay.
I misread the message that you'd sent saying you'd watch Code Geass, so we were going to talk about it on the podcast. So I was like, all right, I guess I got to do it. So I was like, he's picking Code Geass for his week.
No, I was just watching it to watch it.
So yeah, anyway, we're talking about Code Geass. But it has been fun to rewatch it. I will say that until we watched March Gives I'm Like a Lion, it was in my top 3 anime, and then it's been on like the iffy parts on if I still considered it my top 3 favorites. So it's been fun rewatching it to determine.
Personally, I felt it was great, but it wasn't like amazing like ReZero or anything. I enjoyed it, but I think it might have been because it was more older. Because this is a 2000. We watched the 2008 anime. We didn't watch the movies. The movies, no. We should probably point this out right now. So there's the anime that came out in 2008, and then there's the 3 movies plus the new one that came out. And they're also making a new season of Code Geass that's featured after the movies. That's a separate universe. We did not watch that. We watched the original.
There's also another set of movies, I think, that is like supposedly a continuation called like Akito the Exile or something.
Yeah, I remember that. It's like 5 episodes. I was looking.
I don't even know where like that comes in. It's a theatrical OVA. Yeah.
I don't know either, but that's not important. We're not talking about right now. We're talking about the fact that we watched the original. So if you have watched the movies and you want to learn about the original, well, here's your chance because we're going to go into depth about things. We're going to talk about our favorite plot points, our favorite moments, the plot twists, which were really good plot twists, I'll admit, in this show. That's what kind of drew me. I'll admit the season 1 was kind of boring in the beginning, but like it kind of got good towards the middle and then like the end. And then season 2 was like a straight banger throughout the whole thing, I'll admit. I think there's only like 1 or 2 low points in season 2 for me, but other than that,
there's not too many.
It was a straight banger.
Yeah. So Code Geass is definitely one that you kind of have to give it a few episodes before it picks up. So there's some people I know who disliked it, only watched like the first 2 or 3, and were kind of like, I don't get it. Which understandable.
I know with Demon Slayer.
Yeah, I mean, like I never like blame people too harshly on that. I know there's some people like, but you have to watch till episode 8, and I'm like, there's no one should have to watch 4 hours of a show before it's finally good. Like if they're not interested after like the first hour and a half to 2 hours, I respect that. I might disagree, but so it is what it is. But Code Geass is definitely one that get the further you get, the better it gets. So if you're willing to put up with it the whole way, by the end of it, you will most likely really be digging it. Can't guarantee it, but it's highly likely.
That's basically a good explanation on how I liked ReZero. I didn't immediately love ReZero when I watched it. I was interested in it, and that's why I kept watching it. Because of that interest. And then when I got to like that one episode, like episode 7, I'm like, oh, okay, I really love this anime now. I'm gonna love it. And then it just kept growing and growing from there. That's basically you with Code Geass, or many other people with many different animes. But yeah, I agree. You shouldn't have to watch like 4 hours of something for it to get good. People who say that are just like, and now I just realized I've said that before to many people.
I mean, I've said it before too, and like I get that point of view, but I also feel like some people like get mad at people for dropping a show before then. It's like, but you didn't watch till it got good. It's like if somebody wants to bail out after like episode 3 or 4 because they're not enjoying it, that's on the show. And the show could pick up really like a lot further along, and you toughed it out and really appreciated it. That doesn't mean everybody will. So I'm just saying, like, if you hear people saying stuff like that, don't judge them too harshly.
And if someone says that to you, you'd be like, no, I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it because of that. I forget. I didn't watch it because it was boring. Dang it. Basically, I don't know. What was it?
Wasn't keeping my interest, so I stopped.
I wasn't watching it because it wasn't keeping my interest. I didn't watch it till I get to your favorite part.
Yeah.
That's what I'm just trying to say. And that was a whole, let's Peppa Pig, haha, pig, funny. Pink pig. Oh my God. Okay. So we're talking about a lot of characters today in Code Geass. But before we talk about the characters, why don't you tell us a little synopsis about like the story, the lore, a little bit about Code Geass. What's the world happening? What's happening?
Okay, so this is going to be a spoiler-free story synopsis of it. But after this, pretty much, we're going to be talking spoilers. It's hard not to. So after the story overview, if it sounds interesting and you haven't seen it, watch the show and come back. This is a show that I very much feel like if you're remotely interested after hearing the story synopsis, you need to watch the show without looking anything up. This show has so many twists and turns that if you know them ahead of time, you're probably not going to appreciate the show as much. So with that being said, this story is kind of in like an alternate universe of Earth. There's this empire called Britannia, who has taken over the vast majority of the world. And this is where we get our character Lelouch. He is an exiled prince of Britannia, 17th in line to the throne. He was sent to modern-day Japan after his mother was murdered and his father would not investigate who killed the mother. He sent Lelouch and his younger sister Nunnaly to Japan as essentially like bargaining chips. He put them there in case if they were going to take over Japan, they could kind of use them to bargain their way out of deals. But anyway, because of this, he hates Britannia. He hates his father. He hates the whole country, and he wants them to be gone. So Lelouch organizes, or kind of like helps out a resistance in Japan to take over Britannia to make the world a better place for his sister Nunnaly. It's dealing with a lot of mech fights and a lot of war and kind of political talk. Is there anything you would like to add on to that synopsis, or do you feel that is a decent synopsis for the overall?
That was a pretty 100% accurate synopsis of the story. The story starts out like that. Before like the anime starts, it gives you like a synopsis of basically what you just said. So everything Falcon just said, other than like the parts with Lelouch and Nunnaly, like the parts about like Britannia taking over. Like the world and everything, Japan becoming Colony 11 or whatever the heck it's called.
Yes, it's Area 11. So after Britannia takes over an like a country, they name it area and give it a number. So Japan is the 11th country they've overtaken, called Area 11. They're no longer Japanese people; they are 11s.
They are 11s. They are no longer Japanese.
Right. Britannia has it set up to where it's kind of like a. They have like classes. If you're Britannian, you are the best of the best, full-blooded Britannian all the way. You get all the luxuries in life to where then like half Britannians can pick and choose which they kind of want to live at, but the Britannians think less of them because they're half. Kind of think about like if you've seen Harry Potter and the Slytherins, the pure bloods are the best of the best. The half bloods really probably shouldn't exist, and anybody who's a Muggle born is just trash. Pretty much that. Just with if you're from Britannia, you're the best. Everybody else sucks.
I will admit, watching this in the beginning, I was confused with the term because they were throwing terms out there like Britannians, 11s, Japanese colony, and all these other war terms. This is like a war anime as well, so it was a little confusing, and I honestly didn't really understand it all till like halfway or at least towards the end of season 1.
So, they don't explain it very well at the beginning.
They don't, no.
But I guess also worth noting with Lelouch and stuff, because that's not really a spoiler, it happens at the beginning. To help fight the Empire, he's kind of presumed dead. Everybody thinks Lelouch died when he got sent to Japan. So they just kind of like covered it up that he and his sister died when the mom died. So he doesn't want people knowing his identity. So he adopts this alter ego known as Zero. He's this masked, like kind of anarchist to Britannia's opinion. And he was given this power called Geass, which lets him be able to have anybody do anything he wants them to do once.
Only once,
and only once on that person. So like if he could go to myself and be like, I command you to bring me a sandwich every Monday at 11. And every Monday at 11, I would bring him a sandwich. But he can't tell me to do anything else. Or he could tell like Condor, like, hey, I want you to ride that roller coaster right now. And then after he rides the roller coaster, he's out of like done, and he can't use that power on him again. And so this is kind of his pieces and abilities he's using to help stage this war with Britannia to overthrow them.
Yep.
So,
and by the way, to let everybody know, and this is mentioned in the anime, Lelouch already had planned on trying to overthrow the government, even if he didn't have the power of Geass. And I will admit, a lot of the things he does in the show, he doesn't really use his Geass for. So, like all the talking with like all the people, like trying to get all the allies on his side, he never really uses Geass on anybody in the Black Knights.
He has that like princely
except
charm.
for like Callan. Yeah, he has the charm.
I disagree with you somewhat on that.
We'll talk more about that. On Callan. Use it on Callan. Who else did he use it on the Black Knights?
We don't know that he didn't use it on any of the others off the screen though.
He wouldn't have done that. They would have showed it.
I feel like they would have, but also like we don't. They answer a lot of questions, but they leave a lot of questions unanswered as well.
I mean, that's true.
And I even was reading some interviews last night, and they even said they wanted to leave a lot of the questions on the show vague. They wanted a lot of like viewer interpretation as to what was actually happening. Which
then, for the sake of argument, well, I guess we'll say possibly. I personally
he potentially could have. I'm with you. I feel like if he did, they would show it. I'm just trying to think if there's like any of them that I'm not like forgetting about.
It was just Callan, and that was in episode 3 before he even formed the Black Knights, and he was just asking her a question, and then that's it. That's literally the next moment he finds out he can't use his power on the same person twice.
But anyway, that's it for the basic story overview. We will say at this point, full spoilers ahead. So if you want to check out the show, go check it out and then come back and watch it or listen to the episode. It's really, really great. Or hopefully it'll be really, really great. We're still making it. But we would love your opinions as well. So if you're piecing out here, thanks for watching. And we'll be back next week with more anime news.
Why don't you tell them what we're watching next week?
I don't know what we're watching
next week. You haven't decided yet. I know.
No, I'm pretty sure I know, but I'm not going to say what we're watching this week early.
At the end of this podcast. So if you don't know and you want to just skip the whole podcast to find out what we're doing next week, then I guess you'll just have to skip to the last minute.
You can jump to the end.
But then I'll just say a character spoiler right at the end of the episode. So you
please don't do that. Don't spoil things for people. Let people enjoy what they want to watch. Unspoiled Condor.
But I got the ending of this anime spoiled to me.
Well, that's your own dang fault.
No, it's not. It's the internet.
Okay. It is.
I see an article and I'm just like, oh, this looks interesting. And then they show me something. I'm like, dang it. That's what I get from trying to be.
So like me with Persona 4, I got stuck on a boss fight on Persona 4 back on the day when it was only on PS2. And I went to look up a boss strategy on GameFAQs that said boss walkthrough, spoiler free. And the first sentence had a spoiler as to who was doing it all. I was so mad. I was like, no, this is really not spoiler free. You got me. But anyway, really that is Persona 4 talks.
When Nanako is behind everything, yeah.
Freaking Naoto, right? Just
no Nanako.
Oh, you're right, Nanako. Man, got me so good.
Did you see that picture? There's a picture.
Yeah, I did. But anyway, I guess we should talk about the characters before we get too sidetracked,
Should we start with our main character, or perhaps should we talk about someone different? What do you think?
I mean, I figure we always start with the main guy. Let's start with our boy Lelouch. Lelouch Lamperouge.
Or also known as Lelouch v Britannia. It's actually really cool to say out loud. Yeah. I am Condor v Britannia.
No.
So guys, what you didn't see was Falcon nodding his head in approval of my words.
I was shaking my head in disgust. You are not from Britannia.
I know, because Britannia's not real.
You are from up north. That would be like me. It would be like, I am Falcon v Nashville. That's no fun. Actually, it's Nashville. They would probably be like Falcon Han Nashville and be like, why Han? Oh, because honky tonk. Huh? Be like, no. Just no. But anyway, that is besides the point. Lelouch is pretty awesome. I feel like Lelouch overall is probably my favorite like anime protagonist. Just getting that out there. Just saying it right away. But he is a very smart person. He's, as we've said, he's a noble. He is a prince of Britannia living in exile in Japan, but he's keeping that a secret. He has changed his name to Lamperouge to have his secret identity. He doesn't want people coming trying to kill him if they find out he's still alive, kind of deal. He is the vice president of the student council at Ashford Academy, where he attends school. And he lives in the ballroom with his sister Nunnaly,
who is blind.
Who is blind and crippled because of the trauma of seeing their mother murdered. Poor Nunnaly.
Except she's not actually blind.
I mean, maybe.
No, she's not. We already mentioned this was going to be spoilers.
Oh, no, we did. I was just saying. Yeah, you find out that was put on her by somebody.
Wait, no, we're not saying why.
So you can just drop whatever bombs you want, and then I'm just stuck here having to play spoiler. Oh, whatever. Okay.
You have to play damage control.
Damage control. Man, I'm always the straight man. All right.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, I guess you want to hear my thoughts on Lelouch now, don't you?
Sure. Why not?
You're going to hate me.
Oh, do you hate Lelouch?
I think he was a dick throughout most of the show. Pardon my language.
Well, he kind of is a dick throughout most of the show. I'm not going to disagree with you there.
I actually thought a lot of his actions, especially what happened with Euphemia, was it? Well, I mean, technically that wasn't his fault, but I mean, it was his fault. No, it was his fault.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time,
it was unintentional.
It was how he handled it afterward that I did not like. I did not like how he handled it afterward. However, I do think that the end of the show, which I think we should say for the end of the podcast or some other time, I think the end of the show, his choice, what he did was worth it. You know, what he did, I liked it. I think it's probably one of the best anime endings I've ever watched. I would agree with that. I'm sure you also agree. But Lelouch is a pretty cool guy. He's actually pretty popular at his school. A lot of girls. Each season had like one episode where everyone was like goofing off in the school. There was one they were chasing the cat in season 1, and then there's the second one with like the love heart thingies.
The boyfriend, the Cupid Day or whatever, where if you stole the opposite gender's hat, that you all were officially boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever. Yeah,
that was so weird.
Most people who like the show hate those episodes because they feel like they're just essentially filler, which they kind of are.
Personally, they are, but like it's just a nice thing to show that Lelouch is still a student. He has like lives. He has a life other than being Zero, which he is Zero, by the way, in case you didn't know. Yeah. He is the guy Zero, the leader of the Black Knights. He's gonna get peace for everybody.
Yeah, I feel like
he claims.
I don't hate the school episodes as much as some people do because I feel like they were made to show us the other side of Lelouch. We see constantly when he's Zero, like the kind of more cold, calculating, strategical, tactical kind of side of him trying to fight this war. But then we also see at school him with his friends in Nunnaly, kind of how he reacts there. And while he is cold and distant to a lot of them, it's more because of his trust issues with other people. And I don't feel like him necessarily trying to just be a dick. but
I
do
still
feel
feel like he was a dick.
I mean,
that
he
was
was.
my personal thoughts throughout like
Yeah.
season 1 and season 2. I'm like, he's being a dick. He's like a really big dick.
Right. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying that like his more like standoffishness, I do feel like it's just because of all the like trust issues he has with people, but also him being a dick and knowing what he's wanting to do and kind of how everything comes together at the end. I feel like a lot of times he was kind of intentionally doing that as well.
Well, the
because
plot
he acts
twist
different
at the
to
end,
Nunnaly than he does with the others. Like
well,
he's
because he
usually a
loves
lot
her.
more. Yeah. But then all the others, it's just kind of like he's a little more standoffish and whatnot. But Nunnaly is the one person who like he could genuinely be himself around without having to hide a bunch of stuff. And I feel like that's kind of why. I feel like it's not necessarily because he like doesn't care or it's just completely cold. I think it's more of he's thinking about how to protect himself. And if he's not close to anybody, he's more protected. So if he's just stick to people, people aren't going to want to get close to him. So he's be able to like be off his guard a little more, maybe.
I mean, after that bombshell of a reveal, like one of the last episodes, honestly, that could have gone either way. But you know, I feel like Lelouch. That's when Lelouch, I feel like, got like to become a better character, which is like towards the end. But like, it's not like a bad thing. Like as long as your character has character development at like any point in the show, even if it's like at the very end, those characters can become a good character. I personally felt Lelouch became a really good character. He's not my favorite main character, but he was definitely an interesting character. I would say let's see if there's any fun facts about him, huh?
Maybe.
There's so much. He literally has the biggest.
But I will say with Lelouch, like there's so much of himself that they even keep secret from the audience that until you know like what his actual plan was at the end, it really brings a lot to it. And I attribute a lot of how he acts to his strategical, like tactical mindset. So I think that's why I like him a lot. To me, it seems like he's had this whole thing planned out as to what he was doing, and he's just had to slightly tweak his plan throughout as it goes. But I genuinely like him. I do feel like he is one of my favorites, if not my favorite protagonist of a show.
Here's a fun fact. Lelouch's alias is Lamperouge, which is his fake name, as we mentioned.
Right.
Can mean the emperor if the Japanese letters are rearranged. Ooh.
Yeah, and Lamperouge in French means red light or like a red lamp.
Yep.
And Lelouch means shady or cross-eyed.
Oh yeah.
So he's the shady red lamp essentially in French.
Well, I was going to say with this fun fact, I mean, obviously the creators can just say like, "Oh, we made it on purpose," but if you really think about it, in like the character, if you think about it, like in the show. Like if Lelouch decided his own last name, this just goes to show that he was planning on taking over Britannia from the start, like right away, like as soon as with like the last name and everything. So I really like that. Now that I think about it, but Lelouch is a really good character. You might not like him in the beginning personally. You might not agree with a lot of his choices. He does a lot of cool things. I will admit, he's a very cool person, very great. He's really good. He is charismatic. That he's definitely a charismatic character, but. Personally, a lot of his choices I did not like. Especially, I think it was the moments when he lost his cool. He fell. He
does not handle losing well. We'll say I will say that.
He's a sore loser. He's a sore loser.
He is. It's one of those. He's so smart. He wins so much of the time that when he loses, he just kind of like explodes. Like the one part where he finds out Nunnaly might be missing, and it's just like, we need to retreat, we're all gonna die. He's like, hell no, find her now. Like it's like, what are you doing? Like this is the whole reason we're here, and just how he handles situations like that. He just explodes. But that's just one of his flaws he has. I feel like out of the whole show, I feel like there's probably two characters who are very divisive. And you're either going to like that character or you're not. And I feel like that's Lelouch and Suzaku.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say that you said.
Depending on your opinion on people, you're either going to like Lelouch and Suzaku or you're going to hate Lelouch and Suzaku. And that's perfectly fine.
I think Lelouch was a dick, but I still like him as a character. I can understand his like where he was coming from. I just don't agree with his choices a lot. It's like same with Ironwood from Ruby. I actually really like Ironwood, but a lot of his choices in the end of Volume 7 and in Volume 8 were really bad. But
I like Ironwood as a character, but it's the same thing as like I like Lelouch more personally, I think, because I see more of like I guess I can't say that because I was going to say I see more of the reason for his actions, but also I see the reason for Ironwood's actions. He just kind of lost it at the end.
And it's just what happens. I've read a lot of Ruby fan fiction, so I've read a lot of different iterations of Ironwood. All right, hey, be quiet, shut up. The only reason why I watched Code Geass was so I can get my friend to read Ruby fan fiction. Okay, that's the whole reason we're talking about
this today. You did.
And they listen. And if he's listening to the podcast, hello, how you doing? Because I know he listens.
Welcome. Thank you for getting Condor to watch Code Geass. I'm very happy to talk about it with him.
Okay, but basically, I'm reading a fanfic right now, and currently, I like the Ironwood there because it's us the Ironwood before what happens, but things happen, and a path. But what I'm basically trying to say, I always get flustered when I talk about fanfic because I know no one cares about it. But the reason I'm trying to say
no one cares about fanfic.
From what I've read from fanfic, basically, anything can happen to change someone's path. Basically, I can make, let's say I'm going to get a job and I get the offer to get the job. I can either join the job or not join the job. And doing that puts me on two different paths, which could change who I am as a person, make me different or make me the same. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. And in Ruby's case for Ironwood, it all went downhill. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like Lelouch here in a sense. A lot of things went downhill and he handled it really poorly, kind of like Ironwood did in Ruby. And that is what I've been trying to say. All right, let's move on to the next character before I embarrass myself more.
Okay, so we were done with Lelouch, since we've already mentioned him. I guess we'll go to Suzaku Kurugi.
All right, Suzaku. I would call him the second main character because a lot of the openings also kind of focused on him a lot. I think there's a term for that, and I forget what it is.
I forget exactly what it is, but they're essentially different sides of the same coin. I think I said this a little bit before we started recording, but kind of like if you look at it as far as like kind of
here it is. It's the
personality terms.
It says it on the wiki. He's the dual antagonist. Antagonist, which is basically what the heck is it? I just pulled up the freaking
It's been a while since I've actually read the definition. A secondary character, specifically the second most important character after the protagonist.
Yep. So he's literally like the second most important character in the show.
Pretty much, he's a sidekick almost. That's like a synonym you could use for it. Just a sidekick with different views.
By the way, real quick, I just want to mention that I watched this anime subbed, and Falcon, you watched this dubbed for this watch, right? I regret not watching this dub because the dub voice for Lelouch is Johnny Young Bosch, and the dub voice for Suzaku is Yuri Lowenthal, and they're two of the greatest voice actors I know in anime. So because of that, I regret my choice. But the sub was still good. The sub and the dub are still great, I can assume.
No matter how you watch the show, the languages are good. I do recommend the dub a lot because I do feel like it is one of the better dubs. The only problem with it is with this. I mean, this is a mecha show about a war, so you've got dozens of characters. Some of the more like less minor characters aren't done all that well. But then you've got these killer performances from the more main characters that are pretty rock solid. So it's kind of, this one person who appears in 4 or 5 episodes might have a voice that's a little honestly, my least favorite voice in the dub is also my least favorite character in the show. So it doesn't really bother me because I'm like, well, I hate that person anyway. So,
it's perfect. It's like they gave me a voice to hate her for.
One of the Knights of the Round or whatever they were called in R2, the one who's just all about killing everybody.
Oh yeah,
he's voiced. Yeah, the one who's just like, I am the vampire or whatever. Yeah, he's voiced by Vic Mignogna. So like even like him, who's only like 3 episodes, is voiced by like a really good voice actor, regardless of what your opinions on Vic is. He's a good voice actor. So like they've got a lot of really good people. Like even here, Laura Bailey voices.
It was the kid version of Suzaku. Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, wow.
Lelouch. So like they've got Michelle Ruff, I think, does the child version of Lelouch. So even like their child versions are only in maybe a total of like 4 episodes. Have great voices. So if you want to see like some better dubs, Code Geass is one to go for. Suzaku is the child of the former Japanese prime minister, who was killed before Britannia took over. And
who was he killed by, Falcon?
He was killed by Suzaku.
What? His own son killed his father? Suzaku killed his own father?
Pretty much Japan was ready to surrender because they realized there was no way they could win. So they surrendered. The majority of their people would still survive. But Suzaku's dad was one of the few who didn't want to. They wanted to keep fighting. And Suzaku, seeing how much like pain and grief it was bringing to the country, disagreed with his dad and ends up killing him. In a fit of kind of like childish rage, like kind of, he didn't get his way. He's pissed off. There's a knife. Emotions happened. But because of that, he's very much regretted that decision. As we find out later, his main goal in life is he just wants to die. He feels like that's really the only way he could atone for that sin. But he also wants to make the world a better place for the 11s. But he wants to do that by following the system Britannia has set up. So essentially, if you're not Britannian, you can apply to become an honorary Britannian. And if you become an honorary Britannian, more things open up to you. So he joins the army, and the Britannian army, to become an honorary Britannian and to hopefully work his way up through the system so he can, at the end of the day, eventually make the world a better place for the 11s, since he does still care about them. So he and Lelouch are kind of, like I said, different sides of the same coin.
But they were best friends when growing up.
They were best friends. So when Lelouch got exiled to Japan, he and Nunnaly were sent to live with Suzaku and the prime minister. So they grew up almost kind of like his brothers for a summer or two. I actually think it was just pretty much about a year before the war happened. But because of that, they were just like friends, and they're really close. So they understand each other, but they disagree about how to go about it. He thinks Lelouch being zero and, just just doing whatever it takes to get his goal, he views as being immoral and wrong. They should follow the system. But Lelouch knows the system and is like, this isn't going to work out into your favor. We don't need to do it this way. This is going to take 1, too long, and 2, it's most likely not going to work out how you want it to. So let's just get rid of the Emperor and Britannia and be done with it. So they're essentially the best frenemies you could have in a show. They understand what each other's doing, but they eventually grow to almost hate each other because they just can't see eye to eye on the issue.
Like at the very end of season 1, because that's when they find out who is who. Or at least Lelouch finds out Suzaku is in the white thing before Suzaku finds out Lelouch is zero.
Right. So Suzaku ends up getting moved from the army to I think it's called the Special Research Unit or Operations Unit, which is essentially this guy who's just this kind of like mad robot engineer. He's come up with this robot or mecha called the Lancelot, like cutting edge tech.
Which we didn't mention the nightmares.
We haven't mentioned the nightmares yet. But I mean,
mention the nightmares.
Yeah, I have a section on here to talk about them later. So if we just want to talk about them there more in depth, we can.
Sir. Look at you, all professional.
I try to be. Not really. Just today is a more professional day. Mainly, we just have so much crap to talk about. We had to take all these notes down because there's just so much that happens. But yes, he ends up being really the only person who can pilot it well. So throughout the whole season 1, the Black Knights keep getting thwarted whenever the Lancelot comes out, but they don't know who's piloting it. Suzaku hates Zero, but he doesn't know who Zero is, and that's kind of what happens at the end of season 1. They get stuck on this island. Suzaku shoots off the mask, and they realize that he's been piloting the Lancelot. Lelouch has been Zero, and Callan is also there, and I believe that's when he finds out that Callan's been piloting the Gurren. Or did he know before that Callan was the Gurren pilot? I don't remember.
I don't remember, so it's not important.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but that kind of brings an interesting relationship between Callan and Suzaku, since they were essentially friends in the student council together. But otherwise, Suzaku's very impulsive, very reckless, but he has what he considers like a strong sense of justice about him. He's kind of like in like older fantasy shows, that one like religious person who does things that go against the religion because he's preventing something that their religion prevents, so it should cancel each other out. He's kind of that guy. It's like, I'll kill this person if killing this person means that this person will still live because I view this person. It kind of a whole ordeal. But Suzaku has a nice character arc, but he's also one of the characters who gets a lot of hate in the show. I feel like he's one of the more hated characters just due to his personality and how he handles situations. Because like Lelouch, he does not handle situations very well He kind of.
I feel like he handles them better than Lelouch does. Like Lelouch is more calm and collected, but when Lelouch loses, he just freaks out. But I feel like with Suzaku, he's mostly always freaking out. So
I don't know
we're
that I
more
necessarily
used to
agree
it.
with that. Suzaku is more calm and collected, but when he gets mad, he just gets way more violent. When he gets mad, his goal is just to kill anything. It's like, cool, I'll just kill you then.
No, that was more like towards the end, though. That wasn't like in the beginning. Like towards the end when like everything was getting like worse and worse, and then like
he was still that way at the beginning. It just got worse towards the end.
I guess I missed it because I don't really remember anything like him being like a killer at the beginning. I remember him always being sent out against Zero. Like it was him versus Lelouch always in the beginning between the fights, and then he got beat up by those people in the shrine, but Euphemia saved him and stuff. I know I don't remember anything like that in season 1.
Suzaku's plotline is somebody who's very calm and collected but impulsive and listens to reason, becoming more and more unhinged. So he's at the beginning, he still would want to keep going, but he would listen to them more like, no, we need to retreat. He would object, but at the end of the day, he'd be like, well, I'm a soldier, I have to follow orders. I don't agree with this, I'll stop. But as he keeps getting promoted, once he keeps getting promoted and all these bad things keep happening, he finally just doesn't give a shit. And so where Lelouch is, yes, he gets angry and he just keeps lashing. He doesn't really lash out, but his mental judgment just becomes all jumbled. He doesn't know what to do, so he just kind of freaks out. And whatever comes to mind first is what he does. Suzaku eventually just gets more and more violent.
But Suzaku's anger is justified by the death of someone he loved. While Lelouch is just like, I'm losing.
You can understand Suzaku's rage more, but I don't feel like it's necessarily more justified because Suzaku's whole goal is he wants to protect people. So the further he gets, the more mad he gets, the where he doesn't care about hurting people. Like even with the Flaya, he finally is just like, screw it. I mean, I guess that part of that too was he was under Geass when he did that as well, but he doesn't regret using essentially a nuke to destroy a ton of people because he could have gotten Zero killed with it as well. So who cares? Because he got Zero out of the way and he can focus on everybody else.
That was the moment when he snapped. But that was like near the end of season 2. So.
It is, but I'm just saying that's how he becomes. So I don't think we can discount what he's like at the end just because he was a little bit better at it at the beginning. But also
that's because of all the circumstances that happened. It's like what I said earlier with like the Ironwood thing. It's because of the choices that happened that he became that way. If Euphemia never died and he never did that thing, he probably wouldn't be like that. But that's because life experiences changes a person. That just happens.
It does. I'm just saying.
Unfortunately, this is the route that it took for him. But I know I agree with you. Yeah. But I personally felt like he was a lot better, more calm and collected at the beginning. But as the show goes on, he gets more twisted, more aggressive, more not caring.
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I'll say about it is I feel like too that's with his personality. At the beginning, he was low on the totem pole. He had to follow orders, but by the end of it, he's the one making the orders. And I feel like, too, the more he got promoted, the less he had to follow orders, also kind of attributed to how reckless and more violent he got. So for me, I view it even more of, even though, yes, Euphemia died, that was kind of the first snapping point, and then he just had more that happened. It also always kind of seemed to intertwine with his promotions as well. So I view it as more of, now that he has the power, he can be more violent. And then the things that happened that made him snap didn't help and just made it even worse. But I feel like if those things didn't happen, I feel like he might have still by the end of it been to that level. And I guess that's why I don't view it as differently. But that's a me thing.
I disagree because if Euphemia never died, I feel like she would be with him by his side and helping him calm down.
That's true. That's a possibility, but who knows? I mean, she wouldn't be in the mech with him, but she would have
we're all talking access to possibilities at this point. But I personally feel like if Euphemia was still alive, I know because what else would she exist for? At that point, she survived, you know? I mean, everything was going great with her plan. Then Lelouch just fucks it up, and then everything goes down, you know? Oh, gosh, anyway, I want to say this before we move on, but here's a fun fact. In Code, apparently there's novels, there's light novels for Code Geass. So apparently in Code Geass Novel 0, Suzaku kills his father months before the invasion of Japan. The prime minister plans to hand over the country and execute Nunnaly to gain favor with the royal family. In an attempt to stop his father, Suzaku kills him with the sword Todo had it in the family training hall. That actually brings a little bit more light if this is technically canon, which basically I don't really blame. I thought it was kind of fucked that he did it, but now that that's explained like that, I'm like, okay, I guess it's kind of fair. If he was gonna sacrifice someone else, be like a little tiny man serving a higher power instead of standing his ground. So I just wanted to mention that. But everything, I feel like we talked about Suzaku enough. We talked about his morals, his choices, who he is as a person. I think we can move on to the next character.
All right. Next up, we're gonna talk about C2.
C2. I just realized something. I remember that scene. I forget when it was, but it was Lelouch and her in the cave, and Lelouch says her real name, and they never actually mention her real name. They never say that.
Nope. You just every time they say it, you hear like the water drop.
Yeah. What is her real name? Now I want to know. I'm looking it up. Oh, she's the tritagonist. She's the third most important character in the show.
C2 is somebody I've never understood why she's as important as she is, because really without giving Lelouch the Geass at the beginning and kind of like giving him some advice along the way, she's just kind of there. But it's always like Lelouch, Suzaku, and C2. It's like, I mean, at the end of season 2, we finally found out kind of more about her and kind of like what her whole goal has been. But really, she just gave Lelouch a power, so hopefully she could have her wish granted at the end of the day. And that's really all she does. Besides just like, I'll pilot this mech to come save you after you do this thing, and then I'll fly you back to base. She gave him power and ate a lot of pizza, and that's really about it.
Pizza time.
And I really don't feel like she had much of a personality besides being mysterious. She was mysterious, and she was kind of selfish in the fact that she wanted a certain goal to be made, and that's why she made the contract with Lelouch to get it done. And I'm like, that's kind of her, in my opinion.
I feel like, what the heck? I found her real name.
Oh, did you?
I'm not sure if this is canon, but anyway, before I say that, no, I agree with a lot of the points. Personally, I feel like C2 had a lot of things that didn't really get wrapped up towards the end. I mean, we got to learn about her past like at the end, which I honestly thought wasn't going to happen. They would completely forget about it, but they didn't. They showed it. But I just personally felt like she was just kind of there. And then she got all like really, I guess, like different because she forgot her memories and stuff. And that was really weird to see. But like at the same time, it was just nice because she turned back to what she was before things happened, and then more things happened, and she got back to normal. And then things happen. I'm so confused. She was a very confusing character.
So her whole thing was she's an immortal. She has the power of code, which they don't talk a ton about. They just kind of throw it out there randomly. But code is like a counterpart to Geass. Code essentially is immortality. So she was given Geass that eventually turned into code when she like fulfilled her Geass grantor's wish. So after she fulfilled the wish of that person, she now has code and she is now immortal. So she has code. She's been living forever. But before she got her Geass given to her, she was just kind of this street rat, kind of slave kind of girl. And her whole goal was she wanted to live, or she wanted people to like her. So she gets this power to have people like her or like love her. But then she's so used to everybody loving her, she doesn't really get what true love actually is, because everybody just immediately is in love with her and gives her whatever she wants. And then after she kills the person who gave her, I don't think we ever find out that lady's name. I think we just see who she is, like picture,
no,
like
we don't
appearance wise. After she gets rid of her and grants that person's wish, she gets code. She can now live forever, which is kind of at the start. That's what her wish is. She wants to die. So she gives Lelouch his power of Geass, which is letting him give everybody one command that they have to obey. And she's hoping that at the end he'll be able to kill her, thus giving him her code in the process.
Because when you got the code, you got to be immortal, which was really weird. But hey, that's just how it happened.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, they don't ever really like talk about code much until like the very end, and it's just like, I have the code, and it's like cool. And then you have to really like dig in to find out, oh, the code means they're immortal. Which actually explains one of the fan theories that at this point I'm pretty sure has been confirmed false.
And that fan theory is what, Mr. Falcon?
So there was a fan theory that at the very end of the show, they kind of left it open-ended originally on if Lelouch was alive or dead, or that's what a lot of people felt.
Oh, but then there's the movie.
Yeah, but this was years ago before the movie.
Okay.
Like there was years before the movie came out. And so at the end of the show, I won't go too in depth about it. We'll talk more about it later, I guess. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just make it here. You see at the very end, there's this guy pulling like a hay cart. You don't see his face. You just see that he's got like a straw hat. He's got like a cloak on. But C2 is laying on top of it with all of her stuff. And she's talking to Lelouch.
Oh, yeah.
And we see her talk to people before in the show and no one's there. So some people feel like Lelouch was dead and she was talking to him kind of like in the Sea World or whatever it was called, like she was doing with one of the other characters who we'll wait to mention a little later. And that was her talking to him, or kind of just like talking to him like for her head to like kind of explain things. But there's a lot of other people who thought that Lelouch was the guy driving the straw cart and that she was talking to him and that he was technically alive. And that when they got rid of his father, Lelouch inherited the code. Therefore, the show being Code Geass, he was killed, but he was technically alive.
I don't like that. It ruins the ending.
No, I didn't like that theory either. And I think it's pretty much now been confirmed.
It's fair because of the movie.
He was, in fact, dead at the end. But yeah, there was a lot of thing, and that's like when people finally started realizing what exactly the code was. Like, no, this is why it's the show. He gets both, and it's like, I don't agree with it. Like, I was like, he did. But that was kind of the whole thing, was that he inherited his father's code, and that he was still just kicking it. And I was like, no, I don't think so. And I agree that ruins the ending for me. I never supported that theory, but
wait, are you saying that Lelouch dies at the end of Code Geass?
What?
How could you say that, Falcon, to all the fans watching?
We already said this was a spoiler cast, so
no, I have to play damage control.
Yeah, play damage control, Condor.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, anything else you want to say about C2?
She likes pizza.
She does like.
I want a pizza.
That's always been one of my favorite moments, when the first time you see her like actually like meeting the delivery guy, and he's just like, "Thanks for being such a loyal customer, but we have to ask. We keep billing some guy's card. Is that okay?" She's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And it's just like they've been coming to give her pizzas like every day or twice a day for like who knows how long. It's like, but we're kind of billing this guy named Lelouch. Are you sure that's legit? And she's like, yeah.
That did not happen in the dub.
The sub, you mean?
I know the sub. I mean, yeah. I did remember the scene you're talking about, but that they didn't say like we're billing this guy. I was like, I do remember them saying you're such a loyal customer, but I don't remember them saying you're billing someone else.
Yeah, in the dub,
that scene with some creative freedom.
Yeah, and that scene is great because she's literally there. It's like, thank you for being such a loyal customer, and she's like, oh, don't worry about it. But yeah, he's like, but we realized we're billing a dude for all this. Is that cool? And she's like, yeah. And then it just like moves to the next scene. So it's like, oh, she's been ordering tons of pizza with Lelouch's credit card. But I mean, he's a royal, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah,
one of her nicknames is Pizza Girl.
Yeah.
I honestly don't. I honestly don't know. And there's no fun facts about her. What's the next character?
The next character is Mrs. Colin Kozaki.
Best girl.
Yeah, I think Callan's probably my favorite girl.
And it's totally not because of all the erotic shots we see of her in the show.
So the first time I watched it, I didn't watch it uncut, but Funimation has the uncut version. So I was like, oh, okay. What I watched was like a 4TV cut of the show. But yeah. Colin is one of the Black Knights, and she's also a fellow member of the Student Council there at Ashford Academy. She is the pilot of the Gurren, which is pretty much the Black Knight's best mecha nightmare frame they have. She wants to take down Britannia and free Japan. But there's one catch, Condor. Do you know what the catch is?
That she didn't bring her dual disc, so she can't summon Black Rose Dragon?
Exactly. She should have been able to summon Black Rose Dragon. We didn't get that. Dang it. But she's half Britannian.
What? She's half Britannian?
Half Britannian, half Japanese. She has a Japanese mother and a Britannian father. And her father seems very well to do. She lived in a very nice place. When the one episode we actually see it.
Yeah, it was really nice.
And her mother was the housekeeper, and she couldn't understand why her mother was the housekeeper. And she finally realized it's because her mother wanted to make sure she was doing okay. So, she eventually comes to appreciate her mother, which good for you, Callan. Appreciate your parents.
We got that good character development right there. That's right.
Yeah. But she very much is one of Zero's, if not Zero's, most devout kind of follower. Even not before she knows who he is. Honestly, kind of when she finds out who it is, she almost cares less about him.
Almost.
But anyway,
she has pretty red hair. She wants freedom. She wants the freedom for basically she wants Japan to go back to being Japan and not under Britannia. So that's why she fights with Lelouch. They started up as just a regular terrorist before Lelouch took them under their wing as Black Knights. So that was pretty interesting that Lelouch was doing that. I figured that was going to happen. The same with Toto and everyone. I'm like, I see these guys, and Lelouch is probably going to pick them up, and I was right about that. Same with when the Chinese people came. I'm like, Chinese are probably going to join eventually, and they did after a few tussles and stuff. But I like her a lot. She's very spunky. Very she knows what she wants and she goes for it.
She does.
She's super confident in her abilities.
Yeah, as we said, she was a member of the original Japanese resistance force, but they were viewed more as terrorists because they were just kind of like, we'll blow up this building and take hostages. Yeah, solid plan. Let's do it. It was never anything that seemed like actual battle. It's just kind of, they would blow up a building and try to get away.
She pilots the Gurren, which is the best thing ever, and it's gone. That Gurren went through a lot of changes to become as good as it did. I'll tell you
really, all of them did. I mean, even the Lancelot had 3 or 4 different versions.
Yeah, but the Lancelot was always really good. The Gurren was just kind of meh, but then it got really good.
The original Gurren was good, but it still wasn't as good as the Lancelot. But then they kept upgrading it, and it became really busted by the end. But yeah, she's there at school. She's very quiet, doesn't really talk to people. She says she's sickly to where she misses a lot of school. But that's where she's just hanging out with the terrorists, doing her resistance thing. But yeah, we've already said she cares a lot about Zero. She thinks he's the one who can bring the change, and she pretty much blindly will follow whatever order he gives. But she's also fairly impulsive, but she's also fairly reasonable, I feel like.
I wouldn't say she's impulsive. What makes you think that? She was just loyal.
She was. I feel like in battle, I feel like she would follow her impulses a lot. She would still follow the orders, but I feel like a lot of her decisions, I guess maybe not impulsive, maybe more instinctual. She followed her instincts on a lot of things. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it instead of impulsive.
Yeah. But did you know that in Lelouch's assessment of the core members of the Black Knights, Callan has the highest loyalty with 100 out of 100?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not a surprise because she was definitely loyal. Literally, if Lelouch literally told her to just get stripped naked, she probably would just do that. It's Lelouch has a plan, totally 100%.
Yeah.
That's just how loyal I feel. She would do
she might have, but then there's also the one where she was complaining that she had to be the distraction, but also that order came from C2 as opposed to Zero. So whether that's because C2 gave the order and not Zero, or whether it's because she just objects to that sort of thing, who knows?
Also, the scene where the Black Knights at the end, when they turn against him, Callan still keeps giving him chances. Like, hey, come on, you what are we to you? Come on, what am I to you and stuff? But obviously, with what was going to happen at the end, Lelouch didn't want to hold on to those attachments, so he let them go.
I think Callan knew that Zero/Lelouch probably had some other plan and motive, because she's known him so well, both on the resistance side and on the more personal side at the school, that she knows kind of how he is. I think she knew he had something planned, but she was ticked off he wasn't telling her. So I think she was kind of giving him one more shot to try to be like, hey, I've got this plan. I have to have you all hate me for it to happen. Sorry.
But obviously what that plan was, she wouldn't be on board with it.
But it was a plan he couldn't tell her. So he just stays silent the whole time, just kind of making her finally get mad and object to him. But I think she had this gut feeling that he was keeping stuff from them and that it might not be what it seemed, but she couldn't just blindly defend him to everybody else without having proof. And if he wasn't going to give her proof, then she was going to have to just go after him. But yeah, she was very loyal. I feel like really the only other character who might be more loyal than Colin might be Jeremiah, but you could also argue the fact that he flipped sides once.
Well, we can talk about Jeremiah when we get to Jeremiah.
Oh yeah, I was just saying, I just feel like they're the two when I think of like loyal characters that come to mind.
But Callan is the best girl. If you don't think so, then you can just get out of our faces.
I mean, they're already in our faces. They're listening to this through audio because the video version's not coming out till 4021, right?
4,000. My dude said 4021.
That's right, 4021. We'll still be alive then, right?
Maybe if we learn how to preserve our bodies.
Hey, sure, maybe Futurama's right, and we can just like preserve our heads in a museum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
next character.
Next up, I do believe we've got options. Do we want to talk about Shirley or do we want to talk about Rollo?
Shirley.
I was like, Rollo's a little more of a main character, but Shirley is more important earlier on.
Shirley's important like early on and like later on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Rollo doesn't show up till season 2, so it was like, which one do we want to get rid of?
Wow, that's not a nice way to. That's not a nice way to say considering their fates.
Hey. Okay. But anyway, Shirley Fennett. She is a member of the student council. She is head over heels in love with Lelouch, and everybody knows it.
Everybody, but Lelouch.
Actually, I feel like Lelouch kind of knows. Lelouch knows.
Sorry, I'm just thinking like every other anime where the girl's in love with the guy and the guy just doesn't know.
Yeah, they could be like, here, I gave you this gift. It's something very personal of mine. And they're just like, oh, wow, I wonder why you gave me this gift. Okay, bye. And it's like, you idiot. No.
Okay, bye-bye.
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 Anyway. Yeah, Shirley is the main love interest for the show, who also has a very tragic plot with her, I guess, kind of.
Sure, why not?
Really, her whole point of this show is to be in love with Lelouch and try to get Lelouch to date her. But she kind of ends up finding out kind of who Lelouch is and what he's been doing their whole time, because she finds it weird that he keeps like just randomly disappearing so much of the time. And she ends up finding out his secret identity, and whoa, Zero's the reason her father is dead. So now the boy she's in love with is also she blames for the murder of her father. Even though he didn't do it directly, but it was indirectly because of the action Zero was taking. So the blame still kind of falls on him. And it's about her trying to manage her feelings on if she truly loves Lelouch or not, and if she can forgive him. What do you have to say about Shirley, Condor?
I'm going to say that the moment, and here we go with some spoilers, everybody, but you know this is spoilers when you watch, but basically the moment where she finds out she's Zero, and there was that Mao guy who was just there for like 2-3 episodes who wasn't that important, and then he uses his Geass on Shirley to like wipe her memories. I'm just like, what?
Yeah,
I was so surprised. I didn't expect that to happen. That was one of the first plot twists for me that really got me by surprise. I'm just watching the show, expecting it. Like, what's gonna happen? What's he gonna do to her? And then he wipes her memories. I'm just like, what?
That was really kind of the first like WTF moment for me when I first watched the show. It's like, oh, what's gonna happen now that she knows? And he's just like, forget everything. And I was like, what? And then like I was like, cool. So I guess she's out of the show. No, she still comes back to the school, and they just play it off that they had a fight, and Shirley's pretending not to remember him. And it's like, really? It's like, oh, what? I called him Lulu? What? You all really need to make up. This is getting annoying. And it's like, okay, what? Like genuinely just forget she's ever known this guy who she's known for like several years at this point.
And it works because the power of Geass is absolute.
And then the rest of the students and this, like literally the rest of the school just buys they had a fight, and so she's like forgetting about him.
Yeah, that was a little weird. I'm just like, oh yeah, we just had a fight and like we're playing a game, so don't worry about it. Lelouch told everybody in like the student council. I'm just like, you're really just gonna buy into that? And obviously it didn't stick for what?
But it wasn't even the student council. It was the whole school. Like,
yeah, but I remember he told like
everybody.
Millie. He told like Millie and his friend first, like, hey, we're just
told Millie and Ribble, and then they told Nina, and then like that just got around to the whole school. But yeah, it was, and like Suzaku found out for them too. But yeah, it's just like, Okay, that was the weirdest thing about Shirley is that they're just like, they had a fight. They'll eventually get over it.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, it's weird, but like we went on this trip and she doesn't remember the trip either because Lelouch was there, you know, and it's like, no, she genuinely does not remember that trip at all. But yeah, it's just like there were parts where I feel like one of them should have realized, like, I don't think this is her, like, just being upset. But yeah, Shirley. I always liked Shirley a lot. And the first time I watched it, the second time around, liked Shirley a little bit less. But I appreciate her being in there as kind of like trying to anchor into the more like human side of Lelouch as opposed to just the zero personality. But ultimately, I feel like Shirley could have been gone from the show and not much would have been different.
No, it really wouldn't have.
We would have lost the mouse.
It just takes away a lot of emotional tension. The mouse stuff could have still been there. It just takes out a lot of emotional tension and stuff, and a lot of like questioning things. That's all. That's all it really takes away. She really wouldn't mattered in the end.
Right.
But did you want to know that Shirley is the only person Lelouch has successfully used his Geass on twice since Jeremiah had reset Shirley's condition before?
Yeah. Yep.
Did you know that in one episode, Shirley's birthday is given as July 9th, which is wrong?
Oh, man.
And did you know that Shirley's death is wrongfully ruled as a suicide because Rollo used her own gun to kill her when she was suspended by Geass?
Yep. I did know that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So many fun facts.
Mm-hmm. I will say, apparently, in the movies, Shirley has a completely different story.
Yeah, so basically
if you've watched the movies and you've not seen the show, Shirley's going to be a different character, kind of, I guess. I've not seen the movie, so I can't say how different.
I actually looked into it, and basically the only thing that happens, and this goes on with what I was saying earlier about what happens changes a person. Basically, Lelouch didn't kill her father. Yeah, and that's how everything changes. Nothing with Mao happens. When Jeremiah does the thing, he realizes Shirley doesn't have anything, and he just tells Shirley to be careful around Lelouch, and that's it. Literally, that's why Shirley survives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because Lelouch doesn't kill her father in like that battle. That's how everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
Which honestly, again, and because of that, I rest my case. Moving on to the next character.
All right. I guess we should just go to the
Rollo. Okay. Is it Rollo time?
So we could do this one of two ways. We could go to Rollo, or we could go to the next student council member who we both dislike and just be done with the student council characters.
Apparently there's a Rollo v Britannia. What the heck? That is weird. Let's just talk about the character we hate.
Okay. Moving on to the last
why do I have to oh my god, what's your last name? Einstein. What the heck?
This is Miss Nina Einstein, aka the worst character in the show. Hands down. We didn't even know if we wanted to talk about her, but we both hated her so much we're like, no, we're talking about this girl. Nina is the treasurer of the student council. And
I knew that's what it was. Oh God. I'm sorry. I was just reading something on the wiki.
Oh, okay.
I hate Nina.
Yeah, but yeah, she I think she's the treasurer. She's usually doing their numbers, but she's very smart, very sciencey, very scientific, but she's horrendously racist as well. And she, like the whole time, like anytime any mention of anybody, any 11 or Japanese gets brought up, she immediately just starts like shaking and getting like scared to the point like Suzaku, an honorary Britannian who is Princess Euphemia's chosen knight, gets sent to the school and is a part of the student council. She does not want to go near him because he's an 11 and that makes her scared. Which like at the start, I was like, I didn't mind it too much. I was like, it's a little weird. But who knows, maybe she has some sort of like past where like a Japanese person killed her family, so she's like weary of them. No, she just doesn't like them. Like she's literally just been conditioned like, oh, 11s are probably all dangerous. Just don't even worry about them. But she goes from being this like really quiet girl who never says anything, but is like fearful of like the 11s/Japanese people to essentially just becoming the biggest like bigot in the show who just wants to destroy them all, pretty much.
And did you know she has a masturbation scene in season 1, episode 12? Because why the frick not?
Wait, did she? Did I miss that?
Did you not see that?
I don't think I saw that.
It was in episode 12. She was literally like edging on a table over Euphemia's
picture.
No,
I did remember that. I just forgot. I put that out of my mind.
There's a scene right here. There's a thing in the trivia. Nina's masturbation scene in season 1, episode 12 has become extremely controversial due to its mature content and lack of relevance for the overall storyline, as well as how painful it actually would be to use the edge of a table as masturbation aid. Because of the scene's infamy, fans would make fun of Nina by calling her the table girl or table chan, with the table itself being referred to as table coon.
Okay, so apparently I was wrong. There's something I missed about her not liking 11s. Apparently, Nina went to the ghettos once and was assaulted by 11s. So apparently that's why she's so scared of them.
But like that scene, the masturbation scene was so pointless.
Yeah.
Like you could tell that she was like falling in love with Euphemia. You did not need to add that scene. It literally has no reason to be in the show. If I were to rewrite this show, I hope the movies take that scene out. They probably do.
I'm sure they would, because it really wasn't that important, just to show how much she loves Euphemia.
I think it was at that moment is when I realized I hated her. Like it was just there. Like she was just a character before then. But then like with Euphemia saying, "Oh, I need to go talk to her. I need to." Then the masturbation scene, and then things like that. Everything just, why is this character in the show?
Nina's the one I just can't get my head around, even knowing that like I missed a conversation where Millie was like, "Well, she went to the ghettos once and it didn't end well." Like, because like that makes more sense as to why she's like more careful around them. But then, and I guess too, like there's also the part where they're held hostage. Like I kind of understand like later on, but at the very start, it's still weird that she thinks that way somewhat to me. But also like she doesn't really know anything about Princess Euphemia, except for the fact that Euphemia standing up while they were held hostages ended up being what kind of saved them at the end of the day.
Love at first sight. Oh.
But yeah, but then literally like she's going to like the museum to like or some place to get something she needs for one of their parties they're throwing, like, "You can't come in, Princess Euphemia's here." And then she's just like, "Euphemia, I need to see her." And like, "Whoa, suspicious lady." And then Euphemia's like, "Oh, I recognize her from the thing. She is a friend." And then they kind of form a friendship, which is cool. But like, she just seems very entitled to like, "Princess Euphemia saved me once, so I am entitled to see the princess." You know, and it's like, hold up, no, you're not. And then like you have like one hangout session where you kind of become friends, and then like all of a sudden she's your best friend. Like she just doesn't seem like, her actions never just make sense to me. I don't know if there's just like maybe because of the fact she was supposed to have had some sort of like abuse happen to her and that's just kind of made her a little wonky or what. I don't know. It may just be I can't relate, but I just do not get her actions at all. And then later on, she makes literally the equivalent of a nuclear bomb. And then when it is wanting to use it, and then it doesn't work because she messed it up. And then she gets hired by the military to make it and fix it. And then she makes it. And it's like, "Suzaku, use the bomb, Suzaku. Oh my gosh, use the bomb. And then Suzaku's like, "No, I'm not going to use the bomb. I don't want to do that. That's dangerous." And then Suzaku uses the bomb because of his Geass ability that told him that he had to live. So in order to live, the only way out was using the bomb. So he uses the bomb because Lelouch made him do it technically from the past. And then she's like, "I didn't realize it would kill people." Like, what the frick? You made a bomb whose goal is to kill people.
Can we move on already? I'm already
no, I'm still ranting about Nina. And then she's like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it would kill so many people. Oh my gosh." And then she's like, "What do you mean they had this bomb? It killed so many people." It's like, yeah, it did. And that's on you. Like, you're the reason it made, and you were the one who was wanting it to be used. And that's the one thing that comes out of Nina that I like is that part where she like is shaken up. And Lloyd is just like, you have to decide whether you want to have your morals and get rid of science, or to give your life to science and give up your moral. Like, he's pretty much is like, whatever you make, there's going to be somebody who finds a way to make it used for war or violence. So you either continue on the path of science and accept the fact that something you make might hurt all these people, or you just need to get out of science now while you still can. Like, that's the only thing that I liked about Nina. And it wasn't even about her. It was that she had this talk with this guy who's been like this scientist for years. And it was like, you're going to have to make a call. Like, you can't just have this idyllic world where you make this thing that's awesome and can't handle the consequences. So if you can handle the consequences, cool. If you can't, leave. But other than that, yeah, Nina's pretty much unanimously considered the worst character of the show by the majority of the fan base, because there's really no justification for most of what she does. All right, but if we're done with Nina, we can move on.
Rollo Lamparage is a character who is actually Lelouch's brother. Basically for the fact that he's not actually his brother, but basically, so this is the next what the fuck moment that got me for this show. It was between the end of season 1 and the beginning of season 2, where literally season 1 ends with Lelouch and Suzaku like shooting each other with a gun, and then season 2 starts with them in the school, and I'm just like, wait, what happened at the season 1? Did I miss an OVA? Did I miss anything? Why is Valletta the gym teacher? Why does Shirley remember? Who the heck is Rollo? Where's Nunnaly? What's happening? And then, like, obviously, as the show goes on, basically what happens. They explain it, but basically, Rollo is supposed to. Basically, what happened is they took Lelouch to his father, and his father has a Geass as well. We're going to talk about that later. And because of that, we'll say for now he tricks Lelouch into thinking Rollo is his brother. So Rollo's his brother, and until Lelouch actually remembers his memories, until he finds out Rollo's a fake. I kind of like that at the beginning where he has to like play like hidden from them until he like gets Rollo onto his team because he's super awesome, charismatic guy. But the reason why Rollo fell for it is because Rollo personally felt like he never really had a family beforehand. No. But he felt like he actually felt like that with Lelouch, so that's why he kind of like followed him despite going against orders and everything.
Pretty much. I like the people. Go on.
I liked Rollo. I liked Rollo, but then when he killed Shirley, I did not like Rollo.
I think that's kind of the path most people have with Rollo. Rollo is also a character that's not very well liked.
I like him.
At the start, it's kind of like, okay, he's here. He seems like he could be an interesting character. Then it's like, I killed Shirley because she might take Lelouch away from me. And then it's like, whoa, hold up, dude. And
the actual yandere.
He literally like then does some things that are kind of weird as to what he's doing, because like he's going on these missions. It's like, I'll do what Lelouch tells me to do unless I feel like someone's gonna take Lelouch away from me, and then it's just kind of like, okay. But then at the end he kind of redeems himself in my eyes. I'm kind of neutral. I don't really like Rollo, but I don't hate Rollo. I like what he brings to the show though, so even if I don't like him that much personally, I like kind of the arc he brings. But yeah, he was essentially just sitting there to be a spy, to like keep track of what Lelouch is doing and make sure he doesn't get his memory back. Because if he gets his memory back, then they have a problem. He was essentially, you find out that Britannia has been trying to raise child Geass soldiers, and Rollo was one of the kids that they abducted to give the Geass ability and to try to make him a soldier. But since he's one of the first ones, he can only use his power so many times or else his heart will stop because of the strain it puts on his body. So he has to be very like careful about when he uses it. And you just shared a chat meet. Okay. But yeah, Condor shared in our chat a Rollo yandere picture.
It's literally like the yandere thing that like does for Mirai Nikki with Rollo. I just thought of it and it actually exists. And like the way you were explaining it, I didn't really think of it, but when you explain, I'm like, that really
that's totally what he does.
He is
even later on when he's like, Rollo, go save Nunnaly. You got it. Make sure she comes back alive. Understand. Then, like, as soon as he lands, is not on comms. I'm gonna kill Nunnaly because no one's taking Lelouch away from me. And it's like, okay, you're gonna kill his actual sister because you don't want to compete to be like his brother. But yeah, because of the fact he was abducted and really just had like other child soldiers, like experimentees, like test subjects as like friends, he doesn't feel like he had a family. So even though he and Lelouch are faking a family, even when Lelouch finds out who he is, he lies to Rollo and says he still considers him a brother or whatever. So he's like, yeah, we're a family and it's gonna be great. And we're gonna take over Britannia. Then me and Lelouch, brothers in arms, living the great life. Oh, I can't wait. And then it's like, okay, but like we find out like later that Lelouch is literally like, I'm gonna use you until I get what I want, and then you're dead. Like, I'll placate you until I get Nunnaly back in my control, and then goodbye. Like,
bye.
Like, I think that's one of my favorite moments early on in that season too. He's like, wait till I find Nunnaly, Rollo, and then you're dead. Like, he's just like, I'm done with you. I can't trust you. But yeah, I like Rollo. Okay.
But then at the end, where it was during when the Black Knights turned on Lelouch. Rollo saved him by using his Geass. And what you find out, I don't think I mentioned it, but Rollo has a Geass where he can stop time for like a period of time. But
yeah,
the downside for it is it stops his heart as well.
Yeah, and that's why he can only use it so many times.
Yes, but he kept using it to escape from them. He kept like pausing time so they could go farther, faster and faster. but unfortunately he used it so much that he actually just died right there. And I actually am thinking about that now. I think that makes Rollo a bit of a better character because he died for the one who he really loved at the end. That yandere son of a gun.
But otherwise, Rollo's like really like shy and reserved, and even like the student council's like, oh, your brother's just like so shy and like introverted. He probably doesn't have many friends. And so like they're friendly to Rollo because they feel like he doesn't really have anybody because he's kind of this like little sensitive, younger brother that they have to protect. Yeah, it's Rollo's fine. I like what he brings to the show. But besides him really spying and having the Geass power to help out with the battles, that's about really what he brings to the table.
Oh yeah.
Anything else you want to say about Rollo, or should we move on to Orange Boy?
I never really liked the candies. Let's move on.
Oh, I was like, what? But I get what you're talking about now. All right, so Mr. Jeremiah Gottwald, aka Orange Boy.
Here's another character.
Yeah, I like Jeremiah a lot.
I did not in the beginning. I thought he would. I mean, I respected his plot. Basically, Lelouch used this guy. They called him Orange, which, by the way, which is amazing because nobody knew what it means, but they assumed because of what he did at the beginning, he assumed he was a traitor, so no one respected him. But like after that, he kind of like, then he attacked Lelouch during that battle, which I don't think it was Lelouch. It was Callan who like took him out. But he wasn't like actually out. And when that moment when they like picked him up, I'm like, oh my god, he's still alive. Mm-hmm. Why is he still alive? He should have just died. That would have been perfect to like show. I think that would have been good to show. I mean, it was so good because it showed Callan was a lot stronger than she was, but he didn't die. And then he got turned into a robot. But then he joined Lelouch's side because he found out of the fact that, oh, I used to be under your mom's side, and I think what's happening with them is like corrupt and everything. So because of that, then Jeremiah joins basically he joins the good side or the Lelouch side, and
really no side in the show is the good side. I'll just flat out say this: they both are kind of
the student council side is the good side. That's the good side. I would say with the student council. Yep, totally.
Gosh, yeah. Jeremiah is one of those characters you think is probably only going to be in an episode or two, but they call him Orange Boy because I think he's a traitor. And I never really understood why they called him Orange Boy because like they just mentioned orange once, but I kind of looked into it, and apparently in Japan, calling somebody orange is kind of just like another word, like slang for like a traitor.
Oh,
so when they say orange or whatever, it's kind of like it's essentially saying that like he was working with the he was a traitor. He'd been working with the people the whole time. And apparently in the sub, Zero calls him Orange Coon, meaning they have like familiarity, which just calling him Orange, then adding Coon means like, oh, he's been working with them all along, the traitor. But in English, they still call him Orange Boy, and they never really explain it. Except they're like, well, Orange could have been like a code word. But they just put in like Orange Boy because they wanted to call him Orange Boy, never really explained it. But apparently that's, if I understood the reasoning, what I read online was that a lot of times in Japan, orange is like a code word for like traitor. So it was like, so when Zero calls him that or whatever, Orange Coon, they just assume that he had betrayed them all. But he's a nobleman who was like very highly regarded. Then after that, like his reputation just plummets. But he ends up becoming like a test subject where he's more of a cyborg than a human. After a couple losses fighting the Zero Knights. But yeah, you find out closer to the end of the second season, he was the head guard in charge of Lady Marianne, who is Lelouch and Nunnaly's mother, and that he was extremely loyal to her and has never forgiven himself for not being able to protect her from the death. So when he finds out that Lelouch is Lady Marianne's mother, he immediately switches his loyalty from Schneisel to Lelouch because he always felt loyal to Lady Marianne and respected her. So the fact that he found out Lelouch is now her son, all his loyalty immediately went to him. And that's why I feel like, besides Colin, I feel like Jeremiah, to me, is probably the most loyal character in the show, because once he found out who he was, it didn't matter what Lelouch did. Jeremiah was with him the entire way. Like, even when the Black Knights were like, nah, you crazy, Jeremiah was like, nah, I'm good. Let's go. You're Lelouch. Let's get this done.
Let's get her going.
Yeah.
It really begs the question. You know, at the end with what happens with his mom and his dad,
Mhm.
he never. I wonder if Jeremiah ever found out. You think he'd probably betray Lelouch, or do you think Lelouch might have told him what actually happened and what they were going for? And he just decided to stick with him anyway.
I don't think it would have
That would be
mattered
interesting. You
because
don't
Lady
think it would have
Marion
mattered?
technically wasn't alive. It was kind of like her spirit was there, but she wasn't actually there. So I feel like she technically was still considered dead. So even though what happened with Lelouch kind of like permanently making her disappear, I don't think really would matter too much to Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm. I big agree.
Anything else you want to talk about, Jeremiah?
He actually has a really cool looking character. I really like how he looks.
Right.
Especially when he gets to his robot form, or not his robot form, but you know what I mean.
It's more like cyborg form. Yeah, he's got like the little
His
like
more
orange
like
mask and
cyborg
stuff.
form. Yeah.
I really like his nightmare a lot too. When
His
he's a
nightmare.
cyborg.
Oh
Pretty
yeah,
good.
that one was really cool. He has a lot of fun facts. His last name means forest of God in German.
Uh-huh.
When Jeremiah contacts Lelouch in season 2, episode 16, his name appears as orange.
Yeah. Yeah, I read that
Jeremiah's
last
the
night.
only character in this series with orange eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Oh, actually, that question you just asked, there actually is a confirmation of what Jeremiah would have done if he found out about Lady Marion. So there was a Super Robot Wars game that was all based on Code Geass. Whenever Jeremiah faces off against Marion, despite being her former guard, he declared that anyone who is Lelouch's enemy is also his, showing his strong loyalty to Lelouch. So he pretty much just transfers his loyalty from Lady Marion to Lelouch.
No, I mean, I really respected Jeremiah for his loyalty at that point, even if he did turn traitor for Lelouch. But he never technically always stayed loyal to Marianne, so that was really nice. I think at the end he became a better character. Really annoying at first. I'm glad they didn't decide to kill him off because of what he became. All right, let's move on.
Yep. So we can go. We'll go to the one that's probably the more interesting one to talk about next. We'll talk about Princess Euphemia.
Surprised we didn't mention her earlier, considering
I'm surprised she was one we was added later on the list. Yeah, we probably should have.
She's dead.
She dead,
and that's all. Moving on. What's the next character?
Yeah, next character. No, she is Lelouch, Nunnaly's older sister. What was her place in the line? I forget, like 11th, I think maybe.
Who cares?
11th or 12th in line of the throne. Who cares? Oh no, she's the third princess of the Britannian Empire. She's really high up. But she is very kind and caring. She doesn't have that whole like mentality of her older brother and sister, or really of the other princes and princesses, of wanting to take over the throne and having all this great strength and military plan. She just wants the world to be this nice, peaceful place, kind of your idyllic, peace lover. But she was also the sister that was really, I guess, the closest with Lelouch and Nunnaly.
Oh yeah,
you hear them talk about her all the time. Yeah. To where the other, I wouldn't say like the other brothers and sisters weren't really kind, but they definitely had their motives and their other plans. But she was the one who just like, she didn't care about it. She just wanted to be a good person, essentially, and make the world a better place. And so she ends up becoming the viceroy of Japan after Lelouch kills his older brother, Prince Clovis. And she's kind of sitting there more as like a figurehead, I guess, as opposed to actually doing anything. Cornelia is kind of there. Is like the general actually making the rules and stuff, and
but she's like the commander of the army, so she really can't be like the vice.
Right. But it was still pretty much Cornelia running everything, and Euphemia was just there to be like, she's the viceroy. Everybody look at her. Isn't she so nice? But she ends up, her main importance on the show is she ends up finding out Lelouch is Zero. And she had suspicions, but when they meet on this island or whatever, she finally
not the island. It was before that, in like the building.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
the building where they had everyone have captive. That's when he got it, and then it was the island where she confirmed it. That's when I got my suspicions there, because there was a point
where
you're
Lelouch, aren't you? And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am."
Oh, and this also goes against your thing earlier with Suzaku and Callan at the end of season 1. Thinking that's when they find out that she works for the Black Knights, because that's actually wrong. It was the episode before when they go to the island,
it is,
and they split up with Lelouch and Euphemia and Callan and
you're right,
Suzaku. So that's what he finds out. Yeah,
I made a mistake, of course.
I just remember because of that scene. If I didn't remember because of the scene, I would never cared.
Yeah. He ends up like kind of asking Lelouch why he's doing it. He kind of like tells her why, like, my mother died, our father didn't give a crap. We got exiled. simply because our mother was dead and to be used as pawns. Like, he just kind of brings up all the grievances he has. And so she gets the idea she's going to make a part of Area 11 that is this like area that will be called like Japan. I forgot what the actual title was. But pretty much you were an 11 and you wanted to be considered Japanese. You could go to this one area. You could sign up to be there. Oh, Special Administrative Zone of Japan. That's what it was called. But Lelouch had thought of this plan and didn't think it would work because you could just discriminate against the Special Administrative Zone. He didn't think it would give the people what she was wanting, and he was against it. So he tries to talk her out of it, saying like, hey, this is a bad idea. I don't think this is going to do what you think it's going to do. But his Geass ends up going rogue, and he ends up he is kind of I like how they did it. So his Geass kind of upgraded, and so he saw his Geass like came up. So he's kind of covering. He tries to cover his eye, but he'd already made eye contact with her. But then it eventually goes away, so he thinks he's fine. But then he jokingly made the comment about he would never tell her to like kill all the Japanese people. But because she'd still seen it, his Geass, and he hadn't given her an order, she then has been given the Geass order to kill all the Japanese people.
Yep, it's truly sad. It's truly tragic. Just when everything was about to work out in the end, the plot decides no, the sadness and depression must go on. Murder the Japanese, kill all the Japanese.
Yeah. So Lelouch had decided, I guess I should say, that he would support her with her idea because if Zero could support it and kind of like help manage it, he could try to make sure that none of his like fears about what would happen if it happened would come to life. But then because of that, it seems like it was just this giant setup to get all the Japanese or 11s together to murder them all, which really set back the goal. But that was, I kind of like this because this is really one of the first times that Lelouch's plans don't work out. Because before this, he'd always been able to make plans and with like maybe a minor hiccup, like, oh, this person's late or they brought out a new robot we didn't expect. It's like, well, we still got our objective completed. Let's pull back. We don't need to fight anymore. He still was successful, even if there were a few wrenches thrown in. This is the first time that really he didn't have his plan go his way. And how he handled it afterwards wasn't necessarily the best.
Nope.
But I do appreciate that he owns up to it, that he is the one who killed her, even though it wasn't. He didn't use it intentionally, and I think that's something I appreciate about him.
Yeah, he didn't use his Geass intentionally, but he killed her.
He intentionally killed. Yeah, because he knew like if he was still alive, she would just keep killing Japanese people. Yeah, I do like the fact that later on, when Suzaku asked if he used Geass on her, he didn't just try to be like, well, yes, but I didn't mean to. It went rogue. You know, like he didn't try to cover it up. He's like, yeah, I did. Like I gave her that order, and it wasn't like I gave her the order, but it wasn't intentional. You know, it was just like.
Yeah, I'm sure Suzaku wouldn't have cared. So that's why he said it that way.
Suzaku at that point was already starting to was unhinged enough that it would have just been like, I don't care if you meant to do it, you still did it. And like I think Lelouch knew that. I think that's why he didn't try to make like, you know, he really does that in a few times where he could have been like, technically I did, but I didn't mean to. Like he's just flat out like, no, I still did. So I'm just gonna own up to it. He doesn't try to weasel his way out of it.
But did you know that Euphemia died a month before her 17th birthday?
Such sad days.
Also, there's actually some fun, these aren't fun facts, but these are actually, so there's some Code Geass video games. We've mentioned a few of them. There's actually, her role in a lot of them are actually really interesting. So this is the best one that I've seen when I looked up. It's called Code Geass Lost Colors. It was originally for the PS2. Apparently in this game, you're basically a player, like an original character. You're not Lelouch, and you're basically you have like a power similar to Lelouch, but you use it by voice. I don't know. I don't understand how that's different from Lelouch because you have to. Oh, maybe you don't have to look at them through eye contact. You could just use your voice, and you just have to know their name or something. Anyway, I don't know. I didn't really, but apparently in the Code Geass Lost Colors in the game, the player can prevent the Special Zone massacre by either overriding her Geass before she goes on the stage or brainwashing the crowd into forgetting what she said. It is also possible to romance her.
Okay.
And then in Super Wars Z2 Seisai Han, in the Zexus route, Euphemia is revealed to be alive and stops Lelouch from Geassing Nunnaly. She has a falling out with Suzaku since she considers him a traitor for siding with Lelouch. And then in the Code Geass Lelouch of the Rebellion game, there's alternate paths, and in this alternate path, it looks like Euphemia actually has a Geass ability. And her Geass ability puts people into a deep sleep comatose state.
Nice.
And on the Wikia, there's a picture of her using her Geass ability. So that is interesting. The role she is given throughout video games.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about with Euphemia?
I really, honestly, I wish she didn't really die. I don't really think she deserved to die. I feel like personally she should have stayed alive to take everything that happened. But fortunately, that's just life.
Yeah, I mean, she was really, I really like her character, but she was really more of just a plot device to finally set Suzaku's kind of like mental spiral in and to make Lelouch realize his power is something that he can't really just mess with.
She was the
before that point, he was using it just like all the time. Just like, oh, I'll use it on you and on you and on you. And then after this happens, he uses it more sparingly. Which is something you can note. Like I noticed it the first time, but rewatching it, I kind of realized like before, and just be like, oh, I'm going to use my power on this girl to see how long it lasts. Oh, she's still doing it. Cool. All right. Let me do this. And let me do, like, he was just kind of, whenever he wanted to use it, he used it to where after Euphemia, he did put more thought into when he used his Geass, I guess. I don't know why I said things. But that leaves one more character we thought we would mention to talk about.
And that is Charles v. Britannia.
V. Britannia.
I know what I said.
Yeah. But he is the 98th emperor of the Holy Britannian Empire and Lelouch, Nunnaly, and Euphemia's daddy.
Whoa. I can't believe Falcon just said daddy.
I mean, it happens sometimes.
I would expect you to say father, but okay.
Whatever. But yeah, he is the ruler of the Britannian Empire, as we said. He's also kind of a character we don't really know much about until season 2.
He doesn't really get that much spotlight in season 1. He gets more spotlight in season 2.
Yeah, but essentially he is wanting to make this weapon that can essentially bring about, in his mind, world peace.
That's right.
It's called like the Ragnarok Connection, I believe.
It is called the Ragnarok Connection. That is correct.
But Lelouch rejects that idea.
Basically, I think what was the idea? The idea was like everyone just tells the truth from now on. No one can hide anything.
Pretty much. It's a world without lies. And Lelouch disagrees because he feels like lies, while it can be ruled as bad, that they're essentially necessary.
I kind of don't know. That's kind of like tough because I feel like not lying would be great for the world, but at the same time, I feel like telling the truth all the time would just kind of hurt people more, Because people would just not be able to lie, but people would still get hurt. It's not like everyone will just be happy all the time. So I guess in a sense, Lelouch is right. Lying is better.
Right. But yeah. So essentially,
say ignorance is bliss after all.
Right. So essentially, they phrased it as this was a weapon to destroy God, because in this world, God is technically the human like collective. I pulled up the page on the wiki, and just so I feel like they explain it better. The Ragnarok Connection, also simply known as Ragnarok, is a term uttered by the Emperor of Britannia when Lelouch forms his Geass contract with C2. With the use of the Sword of Akasha, the Thought Elevator, and 2 codes, the Emperor can force the collective subconscious of human beings onto the surface of their mask and affect reality, making all humans, both living and dead, into one being. For this reason, the Emperor connected every thought elevator on the planet, which are these ruins that you see throughout the show. There's like 4 or 5 of them. He then intended to unleash Ragnarok using the thought elevator in Kamine Island. This contract was made between Charles, Marion, C2, and V2, where they would destroy the gods and unite all humans, living and dead, into one being. So essentially, everybody would just combine to be one person. They can't keep anything from anybody.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
And then Lelouch thwarted the plan by using his Geass on the gods to make them keep humanity as it is. But it was a really kind of like weird plan. I kind of get where they're coming from, but it still doesn't really make like a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, that part of the, I'll admit this, even though this part was supposed to be like the dramatic tension between Lelouch and his father, I didn't really like it that much because it was kind of confusing and it didn't really make a lot of sense. Because here they are throwing so many other new terms at you, like thought elevator, Ragnarok, the gods, the masks, everything. I'm just like, what does this all mean? Why do I care? Where are the robots I'm so used to after watching 40 episodes of them?
Yeah, and I feel like this part could have just been cut out because the whole time, really, the enemy isn't even really the king. It's more Schneisel and Cornelia and the siblings who are running the army. That's more of who the enemy is. And yes, the emperor is who they have to take down to gain control of the empire. So that's important. But I feel like he could have just been this like really strong guy in a mech and had like a similar effect instead of trying to make Code and Geass and this really important thing into what his move is. Because like really before this, the only thing that seemed weird was that the Emperor kept just not caring about what was going on in Area 11. Like, we're having this really serious fight, or this really big like terrorist like figure is winning over all this control, and all our resources being used up. And he's like, "That's mundane. I don't care about it." You know, and it's kind of like, okay, well, why is that mundane?
I care about the hire.
He doesn't care. Yeah, but it was like, besides having a reason for him to not care about it, just kind of seemed weird to me. Like,
so,
I
would you consider Charles the villain of the show?
Honestly, I don't.
Probably in season 1.
Season 1, maybe. But I view more either
Cornelia.
Not even Cornelia. I
season 1? Cornelia was like the big bad person. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like overall for the whole series, it's more Schneisel because he's the more ambitious one. Cornelia is kind of like your typical soldier. She's ambitious, but she's more about the here and now. Cornelia kind of wanted to keep everything the same.
The true villain was Nina.
Throw the dad and claim the empire for himself. Cornelia was just kind of like, the world's working out pretty fine. Let's just keep it how it is, and we're good to go.
The true villain was Nina.
Then other than that, she was just like a really strong like fighter. Like, Cornelia, I forgot, the Destroyer, I think was her name or something. But yeah, I didn't really like the dad too much. Felt like he was just kind of thrown in there because they're like, we have to have the emperor in there. What are we gonna do?
It was more like they could have done a lot better with him, but yeah. I personally didn't really like it. I feel like his inclusion was great. It's like the perfect like son versus father giant climactic finish, but didn't really end that well.
It didn't, because I feel like there was more tension on the episode where Lelouch is like, I've locked us in here. Guess we're not getting out now. Like I thought there was more like tension with that, and then he's just like, it's like, oh cool, like, are they gonna be able to get out? Does the dad have some trick and he's gonna get out, but Lelouch is now trapped in there with no way out? Like, I felt there was more like possibilities as to what could happen there than here. It's just like, we're going to make everybody into one person so no secrets can be had, and everybody living and alive can just hang out with each other. And it's like, what? Like, okay, because like, wasn't his like main reasoning for it was the blind loyalty between siblings was like the best thing or whatever.
I think our small minds aren't big enough to understand what Charles wanted. Maybe.
Yeah, and then like, yeah, because he and V2 like thought that, I don't know, it was really confusing. Doesn't even really seem like it's that important in the long run unless there's just something obvious we're missing, in which case let us know in the comments. If
you're still listening.
Yeah, if you're still listening, you might have been like, these guys.
I think we're done with all the characters we want to talk about now. Real quick, I just want to say that there is a lot of characters in the show, and we talked about 10 of them, but there's probably like 5 times the amount of different characters you might like.
I mean, it's the same problem as we had with Gundam. Is there's just so many characters. We could have talking about Schneisel, Cornelia, Rivals,
Ogi, Toto.
That
Chinese guy who was really cool.
Oh yeah, how am I forgetting his name? Shinkei. We could have talking about Tamaki and how useless he was the whole time. The red-haired pilot that was always like, "Yeah, Zero's my best friend. Yeah,
Zero's my best friend. When am I gonna get a high position?" Now I remember that guy. I guess he wasn't that important.
I mean, he was there from the start, and he was always there, and he was always important, but he was always like the kind of bottom guy on the totem pole. Like, I remember one of the conversations like, we've given everybody else who's been here from the start a cool position but me. We need to talk about this, Zero. And then like, to appease him, he made him like head of custodial services or something because like there just wasn't anything that he could like do well, despite being like really loyal to Zero.
But basically, if you were to watch the show, there might be a character that we didn't mention that you might love. So
right. But also, it's something we should have mentioned earlier. But all the character designs were designed by Clamp, which, if you don't know who that is, they're the people who did Magic Knight Ray Earth, X, Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. I think they did Cardcaptor Sakura as well.
I don't know any of those. Well, I know Cardcaptor Sakura. I know Cardcaptor Sakura.
Clamp is huge. I'm pulling up their Wikipedia.
You mean Clannad?
They did not do Clannad. That was
what the hell is
Key.
Clamp? Oh, that's the company. Oh.
Clamp is a manga artist, but there's 5 of them that make all their stuff together. And so it's their first initial that they rearranged to form the name of Clamp.
Well, I will admit the graphics for this show was beautiful. Very beautiful.
Yeah. They just did the character designs, and then Sunrise, who does all the Gundam shows, did the animation. They've done RG Veda, Man of Many Faces, Tokyo Babylon, Clamp School Detectives, X, Shirahime Show, Snow Goddess Chronicles, Magic Knight Rayearth, Wish, Cardcaptor Sakura, Clover, Angelic Lair, Legal Drug, Chobits, XXX Holic, Gate 7. Wow, they've not done anything since 2014. Wow. They just like
disappeared
to like leave. But anyway, a lot of I'm surprised you haven't heard of them, because a lot of these shows are like really highly regarded.
XX Holic. So
yeah, so I was really kind of just surprised. I was like, what? You've not heard of any of them? I've not seen all of them. I've seen Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles, which is great. Chobits I've heard good things about. I liked Angelic Lair, but it's not one that's like a must watch. Magic Knight Rayearth was really popular back in the day.
I am not as cultured as you are, Mr. Falcon.
I feel like it's just a lot of these were big when I was in middle school, when I was getting into anime.
I wasn't into anime.
You're a little bit younger, so it may have just been they kind of already fallen by the wayside. But yeah, for me, I was like, wait, what?
When I got into anime, it was Naruto and One Piece were the big ones. Obviously, I came in the era when those were like the big 3, you know, the generic ones. I drink that aloe.
I came in before they were the big 3, but like they were already getting printed over here. They just had it like skyrocketed in popularity until the show came out a few years later. Yeah. We are done with
the graphics were beautiful in this show. If we were to talk about that for moving on to the character designs and everything. The character designs were great for Code Geass. I really like them. Even for like an old style show. When you could tell it was an old style show in like season 1, season 2, it looked a little bit more crisper. But like I really did like the character designs. So there we go. This
was kind of made in the area where like a lot of stuff was still standard def. So I feel like the first show was probably kind of like in a weird thing of like it was probably mostly standard def, and then season 2 was like, oh, we'll just make it in HD now, because it came out 2006 and 2007, I believe.
And then 2008 for season 2.
Yeah. Code Geass first ran for 2006 to 2007. So yeah, so then 2007 2008 for season 2. So I guess we'll talk about the openings and endings now.
Woo!
Which there are several.
So the first 5 openings and 4 endings.
Yeah. So the first opening is Colors by Flo. Condor, what did you think of Colors by Flo?
I liked it because Flo is a good band. I don't remember Flo. I don't remember any of these songs because it's been my favorite is not this one, but it is on the top 2. This one and the other one by Flo.
The one you don't even remember is.
I will mention that both songs in season 1, other than the last one, they had 2 versions of the openings. They showed different characters, and that was kind of confusing a little bit because a lot of the scenes between both of the different versions were like different. They were like the same but also different. I didn't really like that, but that's just me.
Yeah, I genuinely like all the openings for this show. Colors originally was my favorites, but I'd say it's probably in the middle of the pack for me now. I'd say it's probably like dead third, probably. Yeah, we'll say that right for now. I enjoyed it. It was not my favorite. But the first ending is Yukio Seishun Ka by Alley Project, and I really like this one a lot. I like Alley Project a lot.
I'm gonna be real with everybody right now in the podcast. I don't remember any of the ending themes, so they were not really good. They had beautiful visuals though. That is all I will say. They were
they had the like more manga art for it. So I think this is probably something they just had Clamp do, because if I'm remembering correct, Code Geass was originally just an anime thing, and they made a manga off the anime and like the light novels off the anime. It looked like they got Clamp to do like manga panels for the ending, and they just keep kind of rotating through them. Really nice, really nicely done. I like Alley Project. They're the 2 endings that had a more like kind of dark, unique sound to them. Everything Alley Project does kind of has that kind of like vibe to it. But the next opening is Kaidoku Funo by Jin.
And I just want to say the English title says impossible to decipher. So I don't know if that means that's the title or they actually just couldn't they couldn't decipher the title from the name, because that's kind of like confusing.
Yeah.
So
either
is
one
this
would
the
work
name?
because the openings and endings like relate to like the show. Like there's being a lot of like secrets or things or art what they're seeing or plans are happening. So it literally could be called like impossible to decipher because they can't figure out what the heck Zero's thinking. Or it could literally just be like, oh, we couldn't translate this to like an English name. Sorry.
It was.
I did like that about a lot of the openings and endings. If you read like the subtitles for what they were actually meaning, it kind of had dealt with the theme of the show for those episodes.
Oh yeah,
which I enjoyed. Kadoku Funo is probably my least favorite of the openings.
I agree.
But it's my least favorite in like 5 really great openings. So it's definitely not a bad song, but it's the one that I would listen to the least.
All right, I don't even remember it, so let's move on.
Next up is Mosaic Kakaru by Sunset Swish, which is the second ending.
It's not Kakaru, it's Kakara.
Kakara, my bad. But I don't remember this one at all. This is like the one ending that like I don't remember like anything about it.
Of course you don't, because you didn't even say the name right.
I had the name written down. I just totally like I literally have it correct on my sheet I'm looking at, but I just said it wrong.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean it happens. But it's fine. But I doubt you'll remember it either. Which brings us to the third ending, which is only the last two
the worst opening.
No, it's honestly my favorite opening.
You also
song wise, not visual wise. Visual wise, it's pretty crap.
You called it an ending.
I wrote ending 3 on my sheet. It's the third opening. All right. Anyway, it's called Hitomi no Tsubasa, and it's by Access.
No, it's not the worst opening. It's actually really good. I was listening to it earlier because I literally forgot. It only plays for the last 2 episodes of season 1. I literally forgot that it was there until Falcon reminded me. I'm like, oh, that's right. And I gave it a listen to. I'm like, oh yeah, this is okay.
Yeah, I really like it. I feel like it sets the mood really well for how like epic the finale is in season 1.
No, it doesn't.
I think it does.
I think it doesn't, but that's just my opinion.
Well,
if it really set the perfect pace for the last 2 episodes, I'd remember it. But I didn't remember it until you mentioned it literally.
I don't know. I feel like you're just being Condor about things right now.
No, I'm being completely honest. I literally did not.
No, most people forget about this one, but I think like every time I think about it, I think about what happened in those final 2 episodes, and I think it fits really well. But I also am aware that this is an unpopular opinion, and it's probably just me who thinks this. But I really appreciate it.
Hear that, guys? Falcon is special.
Maybe. Anyway,
that's all the songs for season 1. Let's move on to season 2.
Yeah. So for R2, the first opening was called O2 by Orange Range.
Whoa!
It's decent. I don't like that it just randomly has Lelouch on a horse. But hey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just want to talk about that. Jesus, they both of the openings in season 1 and season 2 all show Lelouch on a horse, but he never rides a horse in the show.
He does once at the very, very end.
What?
Once he's taken over Britannia and he's talking with Suzaku in the gardens, they get on a horse as they're walking away.
That's not canon. Anyway, moving on to
it is too canon.
It is not. No, we're not talking about Pokemon. Anyway, O2 is basically the song of Orange Range. It's the first opening to season 2. It's really good. I like it. Probably better than the opening 3 of season 1. What do you think about it?
It's fine. It's probably ranked 4 on my list overall.
I thought you were gonna say it's fine and then you're gonna move on.
No. No, I'm not. I will do that with the ending though. We have Shiwase Nero by Orange Range. It's fine.
Great. Moving on.
Great. Right. Next we have World End by Flow.
Probably it's also used as an opening in one of the movies. Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like World End is pretty much like visual wise, easily my favorite of the openings.
Very beautiful.
Song wise, second favorite of the openings. This is one of the ones I listened to.
It goes wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to see how many characters are in this show, just watch this opening, because any character that has a name who is not dead shows up in this opening. Like they just pop up all over the place. Like even the people who are like on the Black Knight's like main like headquarters ship who literally do nothing to be like, this person got shot down, whose names get said like once. They're even there, and it's like, okay, it's everybody's there, everybody's on there. Just watch it, it's good. Which then leads us to the second ending of season 2, Waga Rotashi Aku no Hana, also by Ali Project.
There's 45 characters in the fourth opening.
That's a lot.
I just counted them all on the page.
All right.
What was the last ending theme?
Waga Rotashi Aku no Hana by Ali Project.
Okay, that's great. Let's move on because no one cares about the ending themes for the show.
I do because I like Ali Project, but the others can suck it. Anyway, that brings us to our lead moment. Condor, if you could choose a Geass from the show, which would you want?
I would obviously choose Lelouch's because then I could get free food every single day of my life.
You could get free food every single day of your life as long as you find a different person to give you the food. Means you might have to move around some.
I could just go to the mall and I see a random person and be like, you buy me food from McDonald's. And then I would do that.
I sadly could see you trying to use it on somebody twice, forgetting you'd use it on that person. Be like,
oh,
you buy me free food. They'll be like, what? No, why would I buy you food? And you're just like, what?
What?
So confused as to why that happened. You would be like, oh. You'd just be like, you buy me free food. No, dude, buy your own food. What?
Get back here. Look at my eyes.
Just be like, I could see you like in the start, just go to the people who work behind the counter and be like, I command you to give me a free Whopper. Okay. Yes. Just be like, yes. And then be all of a sudden be like, well, I'm out of employees now. Who should I go to now?
Time to go to another Burger King.
I could also see you go to like a Five Guys and be like, I command you to give me a free burger with this. And the manager would be like, hey, they can't do that. And you'd be like, you will overlook this. They just get like everybody in the store in one day.
You have to be big brain. I would go to the manager. I'd be like, every single time I come in, you have to give me a free burger.
That's true. You could do
every single time.
And then you would come in and be like, I need to speak to the manager. And the manager would be like, free burger. Here you go. You'd be like, yeah. But yeah,
I would choose Lelouch's power because telling someone to do something for me is amazing. What would you choose?
I honestly think I would probably choose Rolo's.
Oh, you want to stop time and stop your heart?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would use it sparingly. I'm not somebody who would be using his Geass a lot, you know.
What would you use it for? Mostly
getting out of situations that are uncomfortable, you know.
I can just imagine you're just like hanging out with somebody like a girl, and the girl like gets on her knees and is about to propose to you. You just use your Geass and just walk away.
You're like, hold up.
Hold up.
I gotta run away for a second. No, but like, you know, if I was still working retail and some customers like, you're out of the toilet paper, I'm like, why are you out of the toilet paper? You'd be like, hold on a second, you Geass, you just leave, head to the back for a bit, you know. They'd be like, wait, what? Where'd he go? And just be like, I'm out. Laters. But yeah, I would use it to get out of uncomfortable situations.
But you could use Lelouch's Geass on that person and be like, you don't want that toilet paper anymore. I don't want that toilet paper anymore. Then they leave.
You only want this toilet paper.
Yeah.
But no, that's probably honestly what I would pick because I don't feel like I would use it a lot. I would feel bad forcing people to do things for me.
I won't.
That would just be something that I would be like, I kind of feel bad doing this. So being able to sneak out of
the episodes of Code Geass. So
I mean, I'd already seen it.
Maybe I already have Lelouch's Geass.
You do not have Lelouch's Geass.
Yeah. How come you bought me a Whopper?
I did not buy you a Whopper. Well, I guess technically I think you bought a burger. No, you bought Five Guys with that money I sent you.
I got him, boys.
Asked for money for a pizza. He's like, I got Five Guys. I'm like, I thought you said you're getting a pizza. He's like, I changed my mind. I wanted Five Guys. I'm like,
GG's, everybody.
GG's. All right.
What's next?
Nightmare frames. You would like to talk about the nightmare frames.
Like, so big. I don't know if I've mentioned this in any of the previous podcasts. If you're a devoted Bird Brothers podcast watcher, listener, I do not like mecha animes at all. There are some exceptions, like Gurren Lagann, and this one. I actually really like this one. The Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans one we watched was meh. I didn't like the combat that much in it.
I didn't like Iron at all, and I feel like Iron and Suzaku are very similar.
I like the characters in Iron Blooded Orphans. I remember that, but I think I remember saying the fights were just like samey.
No, Iron is the one character in that show I remember you hated. He's the guy who essentially became a Gundam at the end, and you were like, "That guy, I hate that guy."
Oh yeah, I don't remember Iron at all, to be perfectly honest. But basically, for this one, I really like them because they're not like super big. They're like medium sized.
Mm-hmm.
I say they're like medium sized, other than like Jeremiah's at the end.
They're not like bigger than buildings or anything.
No, I really like them. I like what they do with them. I like how they fight. Like some of them have different tactics. And there's so many like different nightmares. It's like the generic ones. And there's Callan's Gurren, and then Suzaku's Lancelot, and then Lelouch gets that really cool one he gets from the mountain. I really
like the Shinkiro and the Gawain.
What do you think about the Nightmares, Falcon?
I like them. I feel like they're a little more realistic than some like mecha animes arcs. Even like it shows with Takeoff, they don't just have like jet thrusters attached to their legs or get launched out of machines. They've got wheels that spin down on the legs, and they have to like speed off to take off. They can't even fly at the beginning. They have to invent the technology to make them fly.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've always thought the wheels were really weird, but I've also really liked them because it shows that like they need to go up this building. They can't just like jump and hover above it. So they just use the wheels to like turn sideways and roll up the building. I've always thought it was cool. I really like their designs.
I will say that really cool.
I feel like the more grunt suits, I feel like have some designs that are kind of lame. Like I've never cared for how the Sutherlands look, which are the purple Britannian ones. But all the like standout named ones I thought have looked really cool. There wasn't a single one of them that I disliked. I liked Jeremiah's a lot. I forgot what it was called.
The one before he got the giant machine?
No, the giant machine one.
Oh, the giant machine one was great.
The Giga Fortress.
Yeah, Giga Fortress.
Like it was almost like a top because it had these like spikes that he could just like spin around and they would make like a shield. But the shield could also like cut things. I really thought it was really cool.
It's a classic.
Yeah, I really dug it.
But yeah, basically, we both really like the Nightmares. We both think they're great for fighting. We both think their designs are really cool. Overall, personally, I feel like even if they took out the Nightmares, the show would still probably be as good as it was, you know?
The Nightmares are there to have cool action, but the show would have been fine even if it was just troops on the ground.
Yeah, so it's really cool they decided to use the combat as like those little things. Instead of making it full mecha, they just decided to make it like kind of mecha.
I feel like with this, it was done by Sunrise, who's most notably known for doing Gundams, like all the different Gundam shows. I've done a few other like shows, but they're usually mecha. I feel like the writer who wrote this one just had this really cool idea for a story. But since they work for Sunrise, like we have to put mechas in there somewhere, so we'll just have them fighting mechas. That's great. We'll do it.
We're geniuses.
Yeah. But I really like them. I think it was really well done. But yeah, I agree. If it was just them more soldiers, I think it would have been a little less interesting, but I also feel like we would have seen more behind the scenes of just like Lelouch and whoever the enemy commander is making more of their moves like out on paper, like from behind the scene, as opposed to being in the mechas also fighting. But they're fun. I would say like if you don't like mecha anime, this is one you don't have to enjoy the mecha parts to still get full enjoyment out of it. It will help, but I think you could still like it if you don't like mecha that much.
Falcon sleepy.
Yeah, I mean, I watched over a season of anime yesterday. Just saying.
Oh, you poor soul. Can we get F's in the chat for Falcon?
F's in the chat for Falcon. But yeah, so after that, really, we're just talking about favorite moments and fights.
Well, we've obviously talked about a lot of moments.
We kind of mixed them in with the characters this time.
Yeah, so I guess we could just mention the ones we haven't mentioned. Like, I was thinking about like the thing with Lelouch's mom about how she was inside Anya.
That was a little weird.
That was really us out of nowhere. Honestly, I did not expect that.
Well, they didn't really have any set up to it. The closest we have is when Anya's at the school and she's like, "Is this you? I found this picture in like the palace or whatever," and it's like,
but that's not because she was her mother. That was because Anya was there as a kid. But like, it was getting hinted at when basically Anya had she said she had diaries in her phone that didn't match up with her memories. So
yeah,
personally, I thought maybe Charles messed with her because we didn't talk about it. We actually didn't, but Charles has Geass as well to basically change someone's memories, which is what he did to before Lelouch remembered in between season 1 and 2. So.
Yeah, and then you find out Lelouch's mom's Geass was that she could put herself in somebody else's body to save herself.
Which is what
so
she
when
did
she
for Anya.
died, Anya was the only witness, so she transferred her body into Anya, or not her body, her mind into Anya's body. So she's been like in Anya's consciousness kind of the whole time, and she'll randomly take over when she needs to. And we find out that's who C2 talks to whenever she was just like talking to Air, when she was talking to Lady Marianne, who is technically in Anya's body. Yeah, there's really no setup. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, I've been living inside of Anya this whole time, and it's like, what? Like,
yeah, that whole thing with the Ragnarok connection was weird.
Yeah. And then it kind of makes Lelouch's mom, who seems like she's this saint, kind of this almost like loony kind of person at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like everybody has this like extremely high respect for her. She's like, oh, I knew I was going to die that night. You all weren't actually there. We just made it look like you all were there so we could, publicize it. And it's like, and cover it up. It's like, wait, what? Like, so Nunnaly wasn't really there. You all made her think she lost her vision.
Yeah. I think she was actually crippled, but she was still blind. She was still like, she wasn't blind. She could still see, which you literally see in like the last episode where she opens her eyes, or was that the episode before the last one? It was one of those.
It was when Lelouch meets her on the I just forgot the name, the big fortress thing at the very end. When he meets her there in the little like garden area, she opens her eyes.
And they were really beautiful eyes, I will admit.
Yeah, nice. She has purple eyes.
Big, really pretty, yeah.
Yeah, that one was good. I also really liked, the whole thing didn't make sense. I liked personally the Pizza Festival episode. I felt it was a really good
that was a good one.
The one where just to kind of like break up the tension because it'd been really tense. And I'm sure a lot of people would probably like, oh, get back to the action. I don't care. But the whole thing of like C2 is supposed to remain hidden because Britannia is looking for her, and she's just like trying to find out when they're going to make the biggest pizza because she wants a slice and she doesn't want to eat it cold because she hates cold. Like, I just loved everything about it, how they're trying to like hide everything. And then Suzaku is trying to like make the crust with the mech unit. Then he ends up throwing it too far and ends up in it. Like, I don't know. I just really liked it. I thought it was a really fun episode. It didn't have to be there, but I felt it was very much appreciated at that point. It was a really nice
slice of life, pun intended episode. Yeah.
And then just think at the end when I forgot exactly what, like, they come to and start like shooting or something starts happening to get everyone's attention, which is why Suzaku gets distracted and like throws the pizza too far. And you just see like hit the tree, like before it hits the tree, you just see everybody like screaming and running around. And then you just see C2 like, and then you just look at, she's just staring at like the pizza crust, just like though like laying in the tree. It's like she didn't care about like all this crap was happening that was more important. It's like, man, I'm not gonna get to eat the pizza. This is the worst day ever. I know. I just always enjoy that moment so much.
Honestly, now that I think about it, you probably enjoyed those episodes a lot more than I did, considering you watched you watched them all back to back. So you watched a lot of like high tension episodes. So when you got to like the episodes that were just casual, I'm sure you probably enjoyed those a lot more than I did. I mean, I still liked them, but I was kind of in the boat. I'm like, can we just get back to the action a little bit?
I totally get that. Yeah.
But for you, I'm sure it was a nice breathe of relief to watch,
So that one was the one from season 1, and I watched it over 2 days. But yeah, I basically watched the season a day. So pretty much I didn't watch quite a full season the first day. I still had like 6 episodes left. So yesterday, the day before we recorded this, I watched all of season. I watched I think 30 episodes of anime yesterday. So it was just I woke up at like 9. I made coffee. As of like 9:30, I was watching anime until like 10 o'clock at night. That's pretty much all I did.
That actually reminds me of when I binged all the Yu-Gi-Oh animes when Arc V was still new. I would literally watch like 30 episodes a day on this TV right here. Well, I mean, literally in this room, I watch like 30 episodes a day. That's all I would do. I'd just stay in my room and watch Yu-Gi-Oh, nothing else.
Right. No. Like I've had those days. When we did March Within Like a Lion, I did that. But that wasn't because I'm like, we have to do it. Like we were just going to talk about the first season. And then I really want to watch the second season. You're like, I'm free. Let's do it. And so I was like, all right. So literally that next day, I just watched I didn't watch quite as much though, because I watched both those seasons over 5 days to where this was like 2 days. But it's like, I have instances where that happens. Just,
all right.
I really wanted to play Mass Effect at one part yesterday, but I was like, no, I need to get through this. And I'm making good progress. I'm gonna just, today is Code Geass day.
Just stream yourself watching Code Geass.
I mean, if it was something on like the Amazon thing where I could have like a stream party, I could have. But then you get into the thing of people might start asking me questions, and I'm like, I'm trying to watch it. Stop asking me questions, you know?
Then why are you streaming?
Yeah, right. So anyway, do you have any other favorite moments we haven't talked about so far?
We covered a lot. We're basically trying to. It's hard to remember every single little moment in 50 episodes. I'm trying to think of all like the bigger ones. There was a lot of fights. The fights were pretty decent, but mostly when you see the fights, it's mostly like Lelouch versus the enemy commanders, like strategizing. I really like
just see snippets too. You don't never see the full fight.
I really liked showing like Lelouch like outsmarting all the enemies. That was really clever and concise and great. Right. I liked that. Other than that, I really can't think of anything else, but it might also be because I'm hungry and I really didn't eat anything before this. I had an
Understandable.
We've been talking for about personally not for the podcast, but we personally have talked for almost 2.5 hours at this point.
Yeah, we've been on here a while.
I can't think of anything else unless you can jog my memory. You have more recent memory. You have more recent memory than us. No, we started talking at 10:30, so 2.5 hours.
Okay. Also, it's like it's 9:30 my time, but it's 12:13 my time. But yeah, I guess that's right.
You started at 9:30. I started at 10:30. You're an hour behind me.
Yeah.
You have more concise memories. You bring up things. Come on.
I really like the moment when I like how season 1 ends. I like how you find out.
Yeah, what a way for season 1
pulls the trigger. End. He sees it's Lelouch, and then you see them both about to pull the trigger, and you hear one gunshot, but you don't see what it is. Like
you hear Nunnaly scream. I honestly thought Nunnaly got shot. That's what I thought at the end, because you hear Nunnaly scream, like your focus is on her, and then it fades to black.
Yeah. But yeah, and then you don't know what happened, and then they start off season 2, and it's just like, we're living everyday school life, and you're like, whoa, wait.
I mentioned
hold
that,
up.
Violetta's the teacher. Shirley remembers who Lelouch is. Rolo fucking is
exists.
Like his brother. Where the hell is Nunnaly? Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, I liked how they really did that. I
liked how season 1 and season 2, the first episodes, were all very similar.
Yeah, I enjoyed that part. I think they did that on purpose too. I feel like because it was exactly a year from like when that battle had happened or whatever. So I feel like I was like, we'll do it the same way we started off the last time. A moment I really enjoyed is I really like when Schneisel wins over the Black Knights by telling them about Lelouch's Zero and kind of what he's done. And even though Lelouch didn't really Geass any of them, or the majority of them, like he had done, I think, Diethard at the very beginning. I think
did he had done something.
I think so at the very beginning, before he was a Black Knight. I think he did use Geass on Diethard for something. I could be being wrong on that.
I'm gonna look that up.
I looked it up so much in a row. I could just be getting things mixed up in my head. But I really like that, and the fact that when they confront Lelouch about it, he knows no matter what he says, he's not going to be able to win them back over. So he's just like, yeah, I mean, that's what's happened. And it's like, did you use it on us? And he's just like, he just legit doesn't answer their question.
I think it also has to do with the fact of when they raided that laboratory with all the Geass children.
True. Yeah.
And they kind of killed people.
Well, the thing about the Flea too is like, we told him about the Flea. Did he tell you all? And it's like, no, but he also thought you all were bluffing. So did he really want to tell them like, hey, they told us they have this missile, could be bad, but I think it's a bluff? Like, he just kept it to him because he didn't think they needed to know. But that's also where he didn't handle the situation of they could potentially have a nuclear warhead with them right now. I should probably give them a heads up just in case. But so then when what's his name found out, he's like, we can't trust Zero, he's not telling us things. And then he dies, and then boom, big explosion. And then when they're asking Zero about it, just, we have to find Nunnaly. We have to find Nunnaly right now. She can't be dead. Where is she? We have to find her. We need to retreat. No, we need to find her now. Then there's kind of like,
no, he doesn't be listening to Diethard at all.
Okay.
I actually found a page of list of Lelouch's orders. No.
Okay.
He hasn't done that at all.
Okay. For some reason I thought he did, but I was just mistaken on my part then.
Yeah, but I'm also seeing it, like, looking through the list, he didn't use it on anybody else in the Black Knights either, at least on screen. The only person is Callan, but that was before the freaking when the Black Knights were formed, yeah.
That was when he was still just trying to figure out how his powers worked, really. Yeah, okay. So I guess that's really, we've talked about all the bigger things. Unless there's anything else you can think about, I say we should probably wrap it up. We've been going on long enough.
The girls
we don't want to keep people here all day.
Hot girls in this show. Major babes, 100%.
Major babes, 100%. Okay.
Major babes. There was no beach episode. 0 out of 10. Worst anime ever.
Oh, man, no hot spring episode, no beach episode.
Tune in next week when we watch Keijo.
I mean, there are a couple shower scenes, I guess you could say, but
apparently
no
in Callan's page, there's literally a trivia fact where they say there's a running gag for Callan being naked in a lot of situations in front of people, you know, like with Suzaku and with the waterfall and that guy with the Shinkai during when they're in the house in the beginning of season 2, you know.
Then there was the season 1 where Lelouch goes to get her from the shower.
Oh yeah, in the beginning.
And then she's in the bunny suit, which you could argue is close enough to being naked.
I like that scene.
I like at the end when she gets in, she's like, "Wait, C2, why did I have to do this? Why couldn't you do this?" And she was just like,
that was another
answer.
part. That's another part why I was confused. Like, why was Callan in a bunny suit? That was also a part of season 2 that got me so confused.
She was there to get Lelouch or to like be on like the ground man or whatever. She's like, "Wait, C2, why did I have to do this? Why couldn't you be the one in the costume?" And just doesn't get an answer.
But I know they revealed that like a little bit later, but like in the beginning when it showed her in the thing, I'm just like, what's happening? Like, why is she in this thing? So I was confused.
I think that was what the waitresses were supposed to wear there. Probably. Because when someone said it, she's really pretty, so we've got a lot of really good bunny girls today. So I think that's just like where they're infiltrating. That was what like the attire to work there. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our reviews because I'm sure we want to. I think I'm gonna go first because I know you like this show a lot more. This show, again, I watched this as a bet to get a friend to read Ruby fan fiction because I like my Ruby fan fiction.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. Honestly, I heard a lot about the show, and the major twist is we never really talked about it. But do you think we should talk about the ending, real quick?
Oh yeah, we can. This is something we haven't.
Let's talk about the ending. Basically, how about you explain it? You're better at explaining things.
All right. So at the end of the show, Lelouch has successfully taken over the world. He has defeated everybody. Essentially, the final battle is the world versus Lelouch and what few followers he has, and the majority of them he has used his Geass on to make them loyal to him. Lelouch ends up kind of outsmarting everybody. He gets the win, and he announces his win over the intercom, radio, TV, whatever, announcing that he has captured Prince Schneizel. He now rules the world because that was essentially the fate of the battle was whoever won controlled the entire world. And so he ends up becoming officially the 99th Emperor of Britannia, Lelouch, and he is having essentially kind of like a parade of all of his enemies being brought to him. It's a lot of the Black Knights that he's been with for a long time, and a lot of the leaders of the other nations.
And Schneizel's there as well.
Yeah,
he ended up using his Geass on near the end to have him serve Zero. So
yeah, so pretty much. That's what happens. He's bringing them to be executed because they were resisting him and kept him from ruling when he should have been ruling. But before that happens, Zero appears.
but
Zero,
Falcon.
Yeah, what
is Zero? What
he is, which is crazy. Like, wait, has Lelouch been big braining this whole time,
so
and he's not Zero?
Must be a cosplayer.
Must be a cosplayer, biggest Zero fanboy. But next thing we know, Zero just charges at Lelouch and stabs him in the heart. Lelouch is dead. What is crazy? And then Cornelia busts out of a room she was hiding in, and she's like, "Lelouch, the demon is dead. Free the hostages or whatever."
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "Yeah!" They all start running and freeing everybody. And but there's some weird things you notice that happen during this. Callan kind of has this hopeful look on her face. Jeremiah, Lelouch's most loyal ally at this point, literally is like, "I shall stop Zero." And then when Zero jumps on him, Jeremiah grins and is like, he says something like, "Best of luck, faithful knight," or something like that. And he has this grin on his face. You're like, hold up, what's happening? Jeremiah and Colin both have weird looks on their face. And then after Lelouch dies and like falling down the stairs, and he's laying by Nunnaly, who for some reason is chained up in a very strange way. She like grabs his hand after like freaking out that he's dead. and then she feels his hand, and then she kind of has this like smile on her face, but then she starts crying. So like, something is up here, Condor. Something here is up. But whoa, flashback time. Suzaku Kururugi was Zero. All along. No, not all along, just here. So this is where you find out what Lelouch had planned. Lelouch's goal to make because we've said this whole time, he was doing this mainly for Nunnaly. He wanted a place where Nunnaly could live in a better world. And he felt that with the current Britannia, that couldn't happen because Britannia was just all about conquering these other lands, treating the natives of that land unfairly, that sort of deal. So you find out at this point, Lelouch has decided that the only way to have world peace is if the world isn't united in a goal. Therefore, by having everybody turn on Lelouch, Lelouch became the most hated person in the entire world. He had no fans except for maybe Jeremiah. That was it. Nobody liked Lelouch. They all thought he was evil. He needed to go, which is why they all worked with Schneisel, who really isn't somebody you can trust at all. But they teamed up with him because without Britannia's help, or the former Britannia's help, they could not get rid of Lelouch. So Lelouch's whole plan was to make the entire world hate himself, conquer the world, and then as ruler, be assassinated by Zero, who he made as a figurehead of hope and peace. So he orders Suzaku, not with his Geass, but just as a friend, in order to make up for all of his sins and murder and past actions, he is to live as Zero, the Knight of Justice, which is what Suzaku originally intended to be before he kind of unhinged and went off the rails. So as an act of repentance, Suzaku has given up his life to live as Zero. Lelouch has given up his life as a way to unite the world to having no conflicts. Thus, by having himself die, the world will be a better place for Nunnaly, thus accomplishing his goal, while also repenting for all the sins he had to commit along the way. Do you think I summed that up fairly well, Condor?
I wouldn't put any more words into that. I think that's perfect. And let's go into our ratings right from there. Yep. Personally, with one of the best endings I've seen in an anime after realizing it. And honestly, I knew about this going into the anime, but like you can obviously if you're watching it for the first time, you can like pick up on these things. Yeah. You can pick up that something's a little weird going on. They call it the Zero something plan?
The Zero Requiem.
The Zero Requiem plan. Yeah. So basically let's summarize this anime altogether. 2 seasons, 25 episodes each.
Yep.
The characters were okay. They weren't the best characters, but some of them were really great, while some of them were really bland. The fights were really good. The songs were nice, and then the ending themes were kind of meh. A lot of the plot twists in the show were really great. They really get you hooked. They really keep you wanting to watch. But I personally feel like if you're an anime fan, this is a must watch. You should probably experience this anime, even if you're not a fan of mecha, even if you're not a fan of old style anime, even if you're not a fan of anything about this anime. I feel like every person who likes anime should at least go through this anime and experience it. It's not my favorite. It's definitely not gonna be like my top 10 or anything, but it should probably be something I won't forget in a long time. And that is why I'm going to rate Code Geass an 8 out of 10.
That's fair. That's fair.
Personally, everything was great about it, but it had its problems, and that's all I can say. So let me hand my hand to Falcon.
Shake it.
That's right.
Yeah. So Code Geass, I agree. I feel like Code Geass is a must watch. I mean, it stayed as popular for as long as it has for a while, and yes, in more recent years it has waned a little bit. But that's also because with anime becoming more mainstream, we have more fans who've watched more of the newer shows and haven't really gone back, which is fair enough. But I do think that I'm with you. Like I said, this was in my top 3 for a while. And I think after the rewatch, I think March Comes In Like a Lion has officially beaten it out.
What? Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised.
Just rewatching it, one, it's been fun to finally rewatch it. I've been wanting to rewatch it for a while and just have kept putting it off. But there were more kind of inconsistencies that I didn't like as much this time. It's still in my top 10. It's probably ranked just like right at number 4 still, because I appreciate the story in an anime more than most anything. The story or the characters. So if you can have a really good one of the others, I can overlook it. And I do feel like this is probably one of my favorite anime stories, period. I really like it. I love how thoughtful it is. Rewatching it, you can kind of see when Lelouch is kind of changing up plans and when he's making moves, and it makes it a little more enjoyable to kind of like sit there be knowing what he's doing. And even if it seems weird or off at the time, you kind of know why he's doing it, which is just kind of a fun retrospective on the rewatch. But as much as I like this show, there's so many characters in it that I also came to really just dislike on the second time watching, that either I had already disliked and forgotten about, or that I just thought I couldn't really ignore. And then there's a lot of confusions and a lot of things that don't make sense, like with the whole Ragnarok thing. I do think it's a must watch. I do think it is a master class of anime. I think it will forever be
masterpiece.
I think forever this will be one that I'll tell people, hey, you should watch Code Geass. Like, it's great. Just watch it. But I think I'm going to give it, as far as a rating, I think I'm going to give it an 8 as well. Ooh. There's a lot that I really like, and I personally, it's still, like I said, it's probably like, but in my top 4 or 5. But I do feel like there's enough issues with it that I can't just sit here and be like, oh, it's the best anime I ever watched. It's so great. As well, it has a lot of that I like. There's still a lot that I kind of wish they could do as well. Or like some people they could have cut out that weren't really needed, that might have just helped it flow a little bit better. But yeah, I think 8's fair. I don't think I'm going to give that 8 as well, but definitely a recommendation for anybody to watch.
I'm honestly surprised you said you like March comes on like a lion. I mean, obviously March is better in my opinion as well, but I'm surprised. But I think as we grow older as people, we like we like characters that are a lot better than more action scenes, you know. I'd rather watch an anime that's more character based than action based, you know.
I think part of it too is everybody in March is pretty relatable. I feel like I could relate to almost everybody there at some point. Even the girl who was bullying Hina, like when you find out why she's doing it, it's like, I get it. Like I can understand why she does that. Here it's most of them are royals or people who, you know, have been treated like crap, and I don't fall into either of those categories. So while I can understand like rooting for them to push through the hardships that they've been having to end it, I don't find anybody relatable. So that kind of leaves off something there. But the writer part of me really respects the story. I really respect Lelouch and how his strategic mind works. I appreciate the character arcs that they have, but there's just enough other issues with it that I feel like overall March was a better put together package that I could also relate to, which also just made me enjoy it that much more, which is probably why. But either way,
well, here we both give it an 8.
Yeah. So thank you all for watching. We hope you all enjoyed it. This is our second really long one. The second time we're doing 2 seasons at once. We can't do them often because too much to watch in 1 week. But
I didn't watch it in a week. You did.
Yeah. Anyway, we hope you all enjoyed it. You can find us on Twitter at birdbropod.com. We have a Discord that you can hop in. You can find that link in the episode description. That you can paste in your browser and pop in for more fun chats. It's always fun. Hit us up, talk about anime, tell us how we're wrong, tell us how we're stupid, or that you agree with us and we're pretty amazing people, you know?
And you want to watch more of the podcast.
I mean, if you're just like, I've never heard of Ruby, you want to watch Ruby, we'll be like, yes, and we'll watch it with you, you know?
Ruby's not an anime.
It's not, but I'm just saying, you know, we talk about it fairly often. You've got the wall of
Which
Ruby
is why we'll be talking about Ruby next week.
Whoa, what? I mean, if you want to. But yeah, anyway, this has been our episode on Code Geass. Tune in next week where we will be watching some more Digimon Adventure. I really want to catch up on there.
Digimon!
We did 24 episodes the first time. It has officially hit the next 24 episode mark.
Wow.
I think we'll probably do all of that unless it ends in like a weird spot. Like if we're on episode like 20 and it kind of like ties up an arc, we may just stop it there. But that'll be next week. You'll hear our next talk on the Digimon Adventure 2020 reboot. And if you want to see what we thought about the first part, hey, you can listen to it. It's already there. Digimon Adventure 2020. It's been pretty good so far. But this has been our show for the week. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.